Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Commissioner Westman?
Here.
Commissioner Ortiz?
Here.
Commissioner Newman?
Here.
Chairperson Welch?
Here. Okay, we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance. All right, thank you. This meeting is being cablecast live on Charter Communications Cable TV Channel 8 and AT&T UVerse Channel 99, and also being recorded. Meetings can also be viewed from the city's website at www.cityofcapitola.org. Our technician tonight is Scott Gray, and as a reminder, please turn off your cell phones during the meeting. And also, if you come forward, make sure you sign in if you haven't already signed in, so we have that record for our minutes. Thank you. At this time, we'll do oral communications. If someone has something that, first of all, I guess we'll do additions and deletions to the agenda. Is that?
Mr. Chairman, no additions to the agenda. However, we did receive numerous additional emails and letters. Most of those have been provided in your packet. Those that came after the packets were printed have been emailed to you and are available. And I would also note that all the letters that we've received through this process, from the draft environmental impact report released in November until current, are either in the IR or are available.
Thank you. This time, we'll open up for public comments for anything that's not on the item tonight. So if you have something you'd like to talk about other than the skate park, we'll give you a couple minutes to come up and speak. Okay, and also I would just to reiterate that we do have an overflow room across the hallway in our little community room. It has a TV in there, so if you want to go sit someplace comfortable and quiet, you can watch the watch that in there and see what's going on. Okay, commission comments?
You do now.
Sure.
So I just have a request this evening for the proponents of the park from the public. When you speak, if you wouldn't mind sharing with me or with us whether or not you would intend to take your kids and be there with them, or if they would be walking from home by themselves. I'm just looking for kind of a feeling for how many parents are actually going to be at the park off and on while it's open. If you're not comfortable mentioning that, don't feel like you need to.
Okay, any other commissioner comments? Staff comments?
Staff has no comments.
Okay. And we will move into, I guess we have the approval of minutes. I get from, we don't need to do an approval of minutes.
Tonight.
So that will move us into our public hearing tonight for the Monterey Avenue Skate Park. And I just want to read a little statement here before we get started. First, I want to thank you for all taking time to attend. I understand that this is sensitive and emotional, and a lot of people have a lot of vested interest into the Monterey Skate Park. But also, we are a community that's very small and a place that we have to live, and we want to make sure that we're respectful as we go through this process. Most of us recognize each other just being around town, if not knowing each other by each other's name. So it's also one of the reasons we're voted the happiest seaside town in the nation. The Planning Commission understands that this is sensitive and emotional for all parties, and we value and respect everyone's opportunity to speak and want to make sure that each of you who want to address the Planning Commission has that opportunity. To accomplish that, we have a few ground rules that we would ask you to adhere to. First, respect each other's ability to and opportunity to address the Commission. Please refrain from applause, cheering, jeering, and discussion during the public comment period. This is a comment period, a time for you to share your concerns and issues. Neither the Commission nor the staff will respond to questions. However, the Planning Commission may direct questions to staff after the public comment session has closed. We'd appreciate if you please just line up over here on the side if you want to speak. When it's your turn to speak, we ask you to tell us your name so we know who you are, and sign into the form if you haven't already signed in for our records. In an effort to allow everyone an opportunity to speak in a reasonable time, you're encouraged to simply state that you agree or with either the opponent or the proponent. So the emails we received have a lot of the same type of information, so we don't need to go through the same thing unless you feel like you need to state your position. Each speaker will only have one opportunity to speak, so it's not going to be a debate where we'll go back and forth. And you cannot give your time to speak to another individual. Once you come up with your time, then that's it. But if someone else would like to speak, a younger member, then that's fine. Due to the number of speakers tonight, we're going to limit it to 2 minutes to share your opinion. If you are representing an organization that reduces the number of speakers, we may allow you more time to state that. Finally, the Planning Commission's role is not a political body to make the final decision. That rests with the City Council. Final approval will go to the City Council for a right of entry agreement. And then, of course, the Planning Commission decision may also be appealed to the City Council. Tonight, the Commission is to consider approval of the requested conditional use permit, design permit, coastal development permit, and the certification of the environmental impact report. The Commission can approve or deny these items as one vote, or they may be broken down into separate votes. So with that, we'll start with a report from... Oh, I'm sorry. I have one other.
Yes, and I did want to acknowledge that I happen to live next door to the applicants, and I spoke to the city attorney about this and whether or not I needed to recuse myself. And after our discussion, I think we both decided that that's not a conflict. So I will be participating in the discussions.
And I'll just state that the process will be that we'll have a staff report to start off, and then the applicants will have a chance to speak, and we may have a few questions from the Commission to the applicants. Then we'll open up the public comment period. After each person's had an opportunity to speak, we'll close the comment period, and the Commission will have some discussion, and then we'll have a commissioners will decide to vote on it. So that's the process. We'll start off with the staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Planning Commission. So the project before you this evening is a private proposal for an approximately 6,000 square foot skate park located in Monterey Park at 700 Monterey Avenue. The Planning Commission tonight is considering an application for a conditional use permit, a design permit, a coastal development permit, which is non-appealable, and certification of the environmental impact report. The City Council would subsequently consider a request for a right of entry permit to construct the project on public property. Monterey Park is an approximately 4-acre public park. It currently includes a baseball diamond, an approximately 6 to 8 foot walking path, a 26-space surface parking lot, public benches, a water fountain, and fences and landscaping. Monterey Park hosts a number of organized and informal league play. Amongst those are the New Brighton Middle School, who has various school sports and PE programs between September and May. The Mid-County Pony Baseball League, which has league play between February and March through the week, and then again in April and May. And the Mid-County Youth Soccer Leagues, which use the fields between the end of August and November. And we also occasionally have miscellaneous rentals to private organizations, typically in the summertime. Right now we have a couple lined up in June and July. Zoning for the site is public facility park. Unlike most of our other zoning districts, that zoning district does not include any development standards for things like setbacks, height, or parking. The general plan designation is parks open space. Monterey Park is designated as an active park since the 1989 general plan, and that designation was retained in our current 2014 general plan. There's also one general plan policy pertaining specifically to Monterey Park, which states that develop Monterey Park as an active park site with neighborhood serving recreational facilities and amenities. Neighboring land uses around Monterey Park include single-family residences, the New Brighton Middle School, St. Joseph's Catholic Church, and multifamily residents scattered in the neighborhood, and a mobile home park to the north. The proposed skate park location is approximately shown on this graphic. It's in the southwest boundary of the park near the property line with New Brighton Middle School. It's oriented in a north-south configuration. and near the walking path. So some more detail on the description. The entire development footprint is proposed to be approximately 6,811 square feet. That's the area that's within the fence line. And the skate park facility itself is proposed to be 6,028 square feet. It would consist of a concrete bowl with undulating slopes and trick elements and would be enclosed by a 6-foot wrought iron fence. The park has been designed to serve beginner to intermediate skaters. It could conceivably accommodate up to 25 skaters at any one time. No special events or competitions are included in this proposal, and the facility would be subject to existing municipal code rules and regulations related to public parks, skate parks, and noise. This is the site plan of the project. I'll go through some of the various elements that are proposed in the park. The entrance gate is currently highlighted. Again, the facility would be enclosed by a 6-foot wrought iron fence. It includes a brick-stamped quarter pipe, 2 16-inch railings, a hell curb, manual pads, 2 transition ramps, and 3 concrete banks. This is a 3D model prepared by the skate park designer. It gives you a little bit better visual idea of where these elements are: the concrete bank, the transition ramps, the quarter pipe, and the railings. This is another perspective looking from the opposite direction, again showing some of the elements, including the hell curb, manual pads, and again the ramps and the main entrance gate. There were some questions about what some of these features look like, and candidly, I wasn't sure myself, not being a skater. So the skate park designer did provide a picture of another skate park which had a stamped brick bank, some railings, and a quarter pipe, just to help visualize what some of these features might look like if the facility were built. The fencing, as proposed, would be a 6-foot-tall wrought iron fence. One of the comments we did receive from the public following release of the EIR was an alternative design that would provide kind of an outwardly curved top to further deter people from using the park after hours or when it's closed. This is from staff's perspective, a good design option and one the Planning Commission may want to consider. We did prepare an environmental impact report for the project. We held a public scoping meeting on June 30th, 2015 to receive input and comments from the public on the scope of the environmental impact report. The draft EIR was circulated between November 18th, 2015 and January 8th of 2016 for a 52-day public review and comment period. The EIR found that the project would result in significant impacts to noise, hazards and hazardous materials related to contaminated soils, and biological resources. All identified environmental impacts can be mitigated, and all the comment letters that we received, plus staff responses, are included in the published final environmental impact report. That final EIR was released on March 17th, 2016. There's been a number of issues and concerns from the public that I'll go over in the following slides. To summarize, they're noise, traffic and parking, design and public safety, community character, land use compatibility, soil contamination, biological resources, the park's operating rules and regulations, and various park and recreation facility issues. Noise is probably the most cited concern that we've heard with the proposed skate park, and it's acknowledged that the skate park would introduce a new noise source to Monterey Park and the surrounding land uses. Noise would be generated from skaters arriving and departing the skate park, from the skateboards slapping and grinding on hard surfaces, and skaters talking and occasionally shouting when they're excited and using the skate park. The skate park is located near noise-sensitive uses. There's neighboring residences, which are designated as being noise-sensitive. There's also the middle school campus that is understandably concerned about noise impacts to their campus, and there's also the church across the street a little further to the west on Monterey Avenue. So when we look at noise, the evaluation criteria is consistency with the general plan, safety and noise element, the municipal code noise ordinance, and CEQA. To help us evaluate noise, the city did contract with Illingworth and Rodkin to prepare a noise study. The noise study included measurements of existing ambient noise at Monterey Park, a review and analysis of actual noise generated by other similar and sometimes larger skate parks, and modeling to predict the anticipated skate park noise levels in the neighborhood if the facility were built. Its findings and recommendations are included in the final noise study and the EIR. I did want to note that at staff's direction, the noise study took a very conservative approach to its assumptions. They used a worst-case scenario when they did their modeling, assuming the skate park would be used at full capacity for an entire day, a scenario that we expect would rarely, if ever, be realized. The modeling did also rely on actual noise data from larger skate parks, which presumably would also be noisier. In addition to that, we had this noise consultant also review and apply an additional noise measurement standard to account for brief instantaneous noise levels, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in the following slides. So the noise measurement standards that the noise study considered were first a CNEL, or Community Noise Equivalent Level standard, which is a 24-hour average. This is the standard that is used in the noise element of the general plan. It weighs the noise over a 24-hour period with penalties given to evening and nighttime noise to account for the increased sensitivity to noise during those hours. It also used an LDN, or a day-night noise level standard. This is more or less the same as the CNEL, except they don't distinguish between night and day. It's all one penalty standard that's applied. The LEQ, or equivalent noise level, is also looked at. This is an average noise level that's taken during a specified noise measurement period. Those first three noise standards are commonly used and are what we would typically use for any type of land use. In addition, for this project, we also had the noise specialists review the project under an LMAX standard, which accounts for maximum noise levels during a measurement period. These are not commonly associated with your standard land use applications. I've most often seen them used for projects like mines, shooting ranges, and other uses that involve very impulsive, loud, penetrating noise types. But we did want to use it to make sure that we did not understate any of the noise impacts. So the noise study conclusions, our noise element standards are that for residential areas, noise should not exceed 60 decibels in a CNEL or LDN standard. Schools and parks have a 70 decibel level. The noise with the skate park, based on the modeling, was 47 to 52 decibels in an LDN and 48 to 53 decibels with the CNEL standards, both which are below the most restrictive noise element standard of 60 decibels. The city's noise ordinance does not include any quantitative thresholds for noise. It simply regulates the type of noise, things like leaf blowers, amplified music, and sets allowable hours for construction. So the skate park would be required to comply with the noise ordinance. Therefore, it would also be consistent with the city's municipal code. CEQA also does not establish any quantitative standards for noise, but it does require that noise impacts be identified and avoided or mitigated to the extent possible. Since there were no quantitative standards that we had, the EIR did establish thresholds of significance, which were that the project would comply with the noise element and noise ordinance, and if the project would result in an increase in 5 decibels over existing conditions, as that's the level that ordinarily is a perceptible change in noise. The noise study concluded that the project would exceed the arithmetic average LEQ noise by up to 7 decibels and the arithmetic average of the LMAX by up to 5 decibels, which would be significant noise impacts and are identified as such in the EIR. As a result, the EIR does include mitigation in the form of 6-foot noise walls to protect Orchid Avenue residents and the school district offices and staff residents to the west of the project. And those conditions are also included in the conditions of approval. This figure shows the location of the noise walls. The north noise wall would be built between the facility and the school district offices to the north. The south noise wall would lie in between the facility and the Orchid Avenue residents. Traffic and parking. The zoning code does not set traffic and parking standards for park facilities, so we commissioned Kimley Horn and Associates to prepare a traffic and parking study. They evaluated the current traffic conditions on Monterey Avenue and the surrounding road network, and then developed trip generation rates based on available information from similar skate parks and the engineer's professional judgment. His findings and recommendation are in the traffic study and EIR. The traffic specialist findings concluded that there would be 8 new weekday PM peak hour trips generated by the project and 11 new trips during the weekend peak hour. These new trips would not create a noticeable change to existing traffic volumes or result in a decreased level of service on Monterey Avenue. However, they would contribute to a failing intersection at Kennedy and Park Avenue. And consistent with the general plan EIR, we have conditioned the project to make a fair share contribution to a future traffic signal that would bring that intersection up to a level of service C. In terms of parking, parking is currently provided through a 26-space parking lot and on-street spaces along Monterey Avenue. The school district did raise concerns regarding the impacts to parents who use Monterey Avenue Park, the parking lot, and a number of residents were concerned that the parking may not be adequate for the facility. The findings of the parking study was that the skate park would create demand for an additional 6 spaces during its peak use periods, and that the parking would be adequate to accommodate skate park users, plus an additional 20 softball players or park users, assuming each one of those persons drove to the park individually. I would also point out that while it's a nice amenity to the neighbors to have extra parking at this lot, its intended use is to serve park users. In staff's opinion, the biggest issue with this project and the most difficult question for the Planning Commission is that of community character and land use compatibility. The zoning and general plan designations, as we mentioned, Monterey Park is zoned and designated as an active park, and a skate park is an active use, which is consistent with an active park designation. There are several competing general plan goals and policies as it relates to protecting residential neighborhoods and providing expanded recreational opportunities for our citizens. The zoning code does give the Planning Commission the ability through its permit considerations to impose additional conditions in respect to the location, design, siting, maintenance, and operation of a use to protect adjacent properties and the public interest. And the Planning Commission is required to give due regard to the nature and condition of all adjacent uses when making its decisions. Active parks, I think, are often notorious for creating nuisance impacts to sensitive land uses which they might be adjacent to. And the proposed skate park clearly would introduce new park activity, and there would be some associated addition to noise, traffic, parking demand, and the introduction of new visual features to the park. As we mentioned, there's residences in the immediate neighborhood, a middle school, and a church. And so the policy question for us tonight is, would this increased activity from the skate park be compatible with the surrounding residents and the middle school? Breaking down kind of the community character issues from a visual and aesthetic perspective, the skate park would displace approximately 6,800 square feet of green space. Depending on the ultimate park location, there's a potential it could result in the loss of mature trees. But from staff's perspective, the skate park is a relatively low-profile facility. Its tallest feature would be the 6-foot-high perimeter fence, and staff believes it would be visually compatible feature with an active park. We do not believe the skate park would result in a substantial degradation of the existing visual character of Monterey Park or the surrounding neighborhood. Traffic and parking, as we went over before, would not generate a significant amount of traffic. Parking can be provided on site, and we do not expect that the skate park would result in a substantial traffic or parking impact to the neighborhood. Noise is a bit of a different issue. Again, it will create noise, and although it may not be CEQA significant, skate park noise will be audible to surrounding residences, park users, and the school campus. Although we can mitigate some of the nuisance noise through noise barriers and effective enforcement of the park, preventing after-hours skating, no amplified music and boom boxes, people's sensitivity to noise is very different, and I think it's reasonable to expect that what might not bother some people may be objectionable to others, and it's a difficult kind of gray issue that we need to grapple with. One of the other main project issues that we've encountered with this case is design and public safety. whether or not the facility, the proposed location of the facility is adequately visible for neighbors and law enforcement, whether it be subject to vandalism, unlawful activities, and after-hours use, and then the potential for errant softballs or baseballs to be hit into the skate park when children are using it, creating a hazard for the skaters. The school district also introduced concerns regarding police patrols and supervision during school hours to prevent conflicts with school activities. To help us assess the design and its public safety, we did commission McAdam Protection Strategies to prepare a crime prevention through environmental design, or CEPTED study. They provided several recommendations for design modifications. Planning staff and the police chief reviewed those very closely, coordinated, and we do have a number of suggestions for revisions that I'll go over in the following slides. The first and most important recommendation we have would be, if the skate park is approved, that the location be modified to shift it closer to the existing parking lot so its visibility is improved to neighbors, residents, passers-by, and police patrols. This alternative was evaluated and identified as the environmentally superior alternative in the EIR. It would reduce noise impacts to residents on Orchid Avenue. However, it would very likely require the removal of the eucalyptus trees, although we believe and would recommend that the redwood trees be avoided to the extent possible. This gives a generalized area. It's not exact by any means. We don't have plans. But if the project were shifted per staff's recommendation, we imagine that it would be moved up somewhere in this approximate location shown in this slide. Some of the other design modifications that staff recommends is to add some form of security lighting. We are aware of the sensitivity to adding bright lights, which might create light trespass on a neighboring property, so we would suggest low-pressure bulbs only be used to softly illuminate the path to the skate park and the inside of the bowl, so that if somebody uses it at night, they're more easily identified and to aid enforcement. We would also suggest that netting be added to the design to prevent errant softballs from entering the skate park. And in terms of the noise wall design, there was quite a bit of discussion on the types of materials. While plexiglass could potentially make some of the activities in the facility more readily visible, it would also increase the amount of maintenance and possibly be a lot more work and require more city resources. So we would recommend a solid material, and to the extent possible to incorporate some earthen berms with those noise barriers to reduce the overall wall massing. We would also suggest that the single entry gate be modified to a double pedestrian gate to facilitate emergency and medical access, that the park be that benches or cube seating be added to the park to provide comfortable seating areas for parents and spectators, that an emergency phone be added for quick emergency communication access, and other features that we would recommend that could be considered: rule signage, which would be a requirement, a skateboard and bicycle rack, wood bark ground cover in lieu of grassy turf, and an additional trash can or two. Given our experiences with McGregor Skate Park, we did have a Phase 1 and Phase 2 environmental site assessment conducted to determine if there were any contaminants in the soil at Monterey Park. As part of that study, the consultant reviewed the historic uses on the property and then did soil testing. Their testing found that there are elevated levels of naturally occurring arsenic in the soil at Monterey Park, much like there is throughout Santa Cruz County. They also detected trace amounts of dieldrin, which was a common pesticide used between 1950 and 1970, probably remains of when the property was used for ag purposes many decades ago. These are not at human health risk levels, but they nonetheless have to be handled with care. As a result, there are mitigation measures in the EIR and conditions of approval. They would require a soil management plan be prepared and then reviewed and approved by the County of Santa Cruz. Additionally, all excavated material from digging the facility site would either be required to be capped or hauled off-site to an appropriate disposal facility. We received a number of concerns about biological resources. Monterey Park is currently covered with non-native turf grass. There are both native and non-native trees on the site. However, there is no records or documentation of any federal, state, or locally listed threatened or endangered species that use the property. There are, however, urban wildlife that use the property just like they do pretty much everywhere else in Capitola. However, those species are generally highly adaptive, and staff feels they would be unlikely to be adversely affected by putting the skate park into Monterey Park. Raptors, such as hawks and falcons, are known to use Monterey Park. However, they do forage over vast territories, and the displacement of roughly 6,000, 7,000 square feet of turf, we do not believe would represent a significant impact to their feeding area. If any trees are removed for the project, it would be subject to the city's tree protection ordinance, which includes a 2-to-1 replacement ratio requirement if any trees are removed or damaged. Operating rules and regulations, as we mentioned earlier, skate park would be subject to existing city regulations. I won't read all of the skate park rules, but these are codified. They're in our current municipal code, requiring that young children be accompanied by an adult, that they wear helmets, no breakable items in there, and that the city has the ability to close the park in response to vandalism, graffiti, or other unlawful activities. It would also be subject to the noise ordinance, which prohibits loudspeakers, amplified music, or PA systems, and also does not allow loud, boisterous, irritating, or unusual noise between 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. And the park would also be subject to construction hour limits, which we have actually restricted further in the proposed conditions of approval. Municipal Code Section 12.40 relates to public parks. It requires that public parks be closed from sunset to 6 a.m. Given the noise ordinance limitations, the longest amount of time that the proposed skate park could be open would be 8 a.m. till dusk. And as we mentioned before, the Planning Commission, through the CUP, may impose additional rules, regulations, or restrictions to minimize impacts. There have been a number of park and facility-related issues that I'll go through. Some of these are a little bit disparate, but related to park and recreation issues. There's been a number of valid questions regarding whether or not the city needs 2 skate parks within a mile of each other, whether or not the city should incur additional maintenance costs for the second skate park facility. A number of folks have pointed out that there are no restroom facilities at Monterey Park, and where would people go to the bathroom that use the skate park? There's been concerns that the city does not have a comprehensive park facilities master plan, and that before we make our choices with what we do with our parks, that a plan should first be developed. There's been considerable concern that a loss of passive green space in exchange for a skate park is not in everyone's best interest, as well as potential impacts to a future expanded soccer field, which could be compromised should the skate park be sited in its proposed location. The school district also introduced some concerns regarding park facilities. They reiterated their concern about the lack of the bathroom, and their concern that skaters or other park users may try to use their facilities and overloading their bathrooms. They have concerns about the impacts to their physical education classes that they currently hold in Monterey Park, and the loss of shade and green space for students who currently enjoy that use of Monterey Park. Park and recreational facilities are not addressed in our general plan, zoning code, or CEQA. They don't fall under kind of the traditional purview of the Planning Commission. Primarily, they're budget and policy issues that are under the City Council's purview, and the Council will need to consider these issues when they debate the issues with the right of the entry permit. In that regard, the Planning Commission may consider those issues in their decision tonight, but you're not obligated to do so. I think it would be perfectly appropriate if you deferred some of those policy issues and budgetary issues to the City Council. Staff's findings on the project are the proposed skate park is an active recreational use, which would be consistent with the public facilities park zoning designation. The project would be consistent with the park's open space general plan land use designation and applicable general plan goals and policies, and all environmental impacts can be mitigated to below a level of significance in accordance with CEQA. Therefore, staff does recommend the Planning Commission adopt the resolution certifying the environmental impact report and adopting the mitigation, monitoring, and reporting program. We recommend that you approve the conditional use permit, design permit, and coastal development permit to authorize a modified project as described in Alternative 1 of the EIR. We would also ask that you add a condition of approval, which requires the applicant to execute a defense and indemnity agreement to the satisfaction of the city attorney prior to the city council considering a right of entry permit. So that wraps up my presentation. I am available for questions and answers. In addition, we do have Tony Condati, our city attorney, with me tonight, Steve Jesberg, our public works director, Rudy Escalante, our police chief, Stephanie Strelo, who is our EIR preparer, Frederick Venture from Kimley Horn, who prepared the traffic study, Michael Thill, who is the noise consultant, and Wade McAdam, who is a crime prevention specialist, that prepared our SEPTED study. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. At this point, I guess we'll ask the commission if you have questions of staff.
Do you want us to ask them now, or do you want us to wait till after the public comments
We
section?
can wait, or if you have questions that
we wait?
you just want to wait.
I have questions, but I think it might be better
Okay.
to hear from the public first.
Then we'll ask the applicant if they want to come up, and we'll give you a few minutes to do your presentation. Also, just by a show of hands, is there someone out there that's representing an organization, an opponent that would like to have any extra time, or can everybody abide by the 2-minute rule? You're going to represent an organization that will keep us from having to, you'll represent a number of speakers in that case? Yeah. Okay. But there are still speakers. Okay. All right. Okay, we'll give you 3 minutes. You have a group, and how many do you think you represent? Just by.
There's other speakers in my organization, Friends of Monterey Park. There's many people who can attend, so I'll be speaking.
All right. Well, the real intent of trying to have 3 minutes. Okay. The intent is not to give an individual more time, but to represent a number of people so we can reduce the time out here. Thank you. Is that anyone else tonight? Okay, then we'll ask you two to go ahead and start.
We have a quick question. Do we have 2 minutes
You
to present?
we'll give you at least 3 minutes to speak, so.
I just need to
Yeah,
read through
that's
it.
all right. You have some information. You are the applicant. We'll give you some time.
All right. Well, thank you. Good evening. We'd like to thank you for allowing us to be here this evening. My name is Marie Martorella, and I'm Tricia Proctor, and I'm going to read my little spiel here. So I don't think we need to give too extensive of a recap, but as we all know, we were given the go-ahead to proceed through the process with this project, which included obviously the EIR and the necessary reports. So that is what we are here tonight doing. We are going through the process. I know that there was a lot of information received in the staff packet. I don't believe it was submitted this time, but in our previous one, we did have over 240 letters of support and signatures from the immediate neighborhood. And the other positive aspect of this is that it was privately funded. So we want to just recap just some of that as to why we're here this evening. So we were happy to prepare the appropriate reports and spend the extra time necessary to ensure that there are no surprises as we move through this process. We, of course, were pleased to see that the EIR adequately addressed many of the concerns mentioned, including traffic, noise, habitat, parking, hazardous emissions, drainage, and aesthetics. These were all vetted out that had no significant unavoidable impacts. In addition, we took the finding from the draft EIR and incorporated some modifications based on the information, and that has been updated in the plans that you have this evening. We, of course, welcome suggestions from you, the Planning Commission, so that this project is received as a benefit to the community. We want to be good neighbors, and we want to see this be a successful addition to the park. The important thing to remember is that we want this project approved, and the kids, the neighbors, the local business owners, and the majority of the immediate community want this project approved. One piece of information that may not have been obvious is that with the exception of many of the positive letters from everyone, including those next to Derby Park, all of the supporting letters besides those were from Capitola residents, still even more immediately from the direct Cliffwood Heights area. We did read all of the letters. Many were actually repeat letters from the same individuals. we'd like to positively address some of those concerns and alleviate any negativity and or propaganda that seems to be sometimes submitted out of spite. We did stay within the 6,000 square foot skatable surface, but key to be aware is that we were asked from various individuals in the neighborhood to include decking and fencing, which did actually increase the overall footprint by about additional 700 square feet. We'd like to be clear on this because the City Council did say that we should stay within an approximate 6,000 square foot skate park, and the skatable area is that. Another quick thing to address is the boombox, amplified music, lighting, bathrooms, and tree removal. None of these are included in our project. The city has tried for some time to put in some sort of restroom, but has been unsuccessful as of this time. There has been overwhelming neighbor opposition to having a restroom put in, so I don't believe that that has happened. We think that the added feature to the park is going to enhance that park. We think that there is plenty of room for this and lots of other activities. So Tricia has a spiel.
So the EIR explains traffic and noise as no significant unavoidable impacts, and those were addressed here tonight, and they've been mitigated in the plans you have. The city hired the experts to do the EIR to ensure the accuracy of those findings. And another concern we want to mention is that some thought hazardous emissions from skateboards. And as the EIR has pointed out, the exhaust from the number of cars traveling down Monterey Avenue emit more emissions than any skateboard wheel could possibly ever. And then you can refer to the hazardous emissions portion on the EIR. And one thing that's very important that I want to clarify here tonight is the school board versus district staff letters. And I see that Henry and Harley are here tonight, and I'm hoping they can help clarify this as well. So the letters submitted from Henry and Harley were not from the school board. They were from district staff. The school board has been very clear. They have not taken an action item, nor a vote, nor a stand on this matter. And they continue to remain consistent as they were back in February 2015 with a no opinion on this project. And you can refer to the email from Board President Judy McGooden, who clarified it was a discussion item, which was not agendized nor voted on. The district staff wrote to us that their biggest concern was the lack of restrooms at the park and overall safety. And like Marie mentioned, we support restrooms, but it's not our project or task here tonight. That would be a city project. And the overall safety of the park will be handled the way it is now with our law enforcement officers, and we have full faith in their ability. We know you'll hear these topics tonight, but we wanted to again be factual and transparent and try to alleviate too much discussion on these comments. We hope the meeting can focus on the plans submitted, pertinent discussion of the EIR and the mitigations taken, and move to a vote of support without too much emotional debate. We see this project as a huge win to the community. The children get a safe and fun place to skate that is in the heart of our community at an established park. And the city and residents will not have to fundraise for this as it is privately funded. We've done all the reports and studies asked of us while consulting the skate park experts. And another thing to please keep in mind, for every vote against, we have 30 voices who support it. Planning commissioners, we ask for your vote of support on this project, and we are here to answer any questions you have. Therefore, we have the following people with us tonight. We have Rich Novik, who is our uncle, who is happily funding this project for the children of this community. Rich not only grew up in Capitola, but he continues to reside in as well. We have Danielle Scott from Dreamland Skateparks. Danielle is designer and builder, and Dreamland has developed over 105 skate parks worldwide, and her husband is currently in Sweden building a skateboard park, so he's not here. We have Troy Mears, who's the engineer for the project, and he works directly with Dreamland. And then we have Mickey Vukovic from the Tony Hawk Foundation, who has been our advisor for this project. And also the many people you see behind us supporting this project who are also Capitola residents. Can I please get a silent show of hands on those who support this project? Thank you.
Great, thank you. Do we have any questions for the applicant?
Questions?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
I just had one question. What is your thought about the alternative location that is recommended by the staff?
We're open to any suggestions within Monterey Park. We are not open to reducing the park size.
Any other questions for the applicant or their engineers or anyone else, I guess?
I have, I guess, a couple of questions.
I was asking the commission if they had any more questions, so we'll speak up. And any more questions of the applicant?
I have a couple of questions, and I'm not sure if it's the engineer or the designer that I
They're
want to-
welcome, yes, they want to come up and answer those for you.
Okay. So I'll tell you what the questions are, and then you can tell me who's going to answer them. There were two items that I wanted, and they have to do with that park itself. One was in Rich's presentation, he showed a stamped bank. Are there any stamped banks included in the proposal now, or is it all smooth concrete?
No, there is a stamped bank proposed in the park right now.
Okay. Can you put up your slide that pointed out the features? I just want to know which one it is.
That's right.
This one, Rich?
Number 3.
Yeah. The quarter pipe there, where it's.
It's the quarter pipe?
Yeah, see the
Okay.
stamp?
Thank you.
Yeah.
My other question was, there was netting that was discussed as a potential for softballs that get out of control. Can you describe the concept of the netting? What you're thinking there?
What we've done in the past is we've used power poles, old power poles, and then strung netting. Basically, you see them around the country everywhere where the side of for foul balls, stopping foul balls, and we would string that, and it would be on a pulley system that you could pull it up, move it down, or just keep it there permanently.
Okay, but it could just be used when there's a game going on. It wouldn't have to be there all the time.
Yeah, you can design it that way. Yeah, it's a vinyl netting.
Okay, thank you.
And just to add to that, there are a lot of baseball fields that have multiple diamonds, 3 or 4 parks in one facility that do use those.
Okay. You don't have any pictures of those?
I don't.
Not with me, no. I could send them though.
Thank you. Those are all my questions.
Any other questions for the applicant? Okay, if not, thank you very much. And I see Harley, and if we get you guys from the school district, did you want to speak first? Okay, I'll let you speak. And then next, if we could have Friends of Monterey Park, and then I think we have Protecting Our Public Parks also, and then we'll open up to other public comments. Thank you.
I'm Henry Castellano. I'm the superintendent of SoCal School District. And to the commissioners and members, thank you for allowing us to speak. I also want to recognize Rich Gannell. Rich Gannell, we've been communicating with him for the past few months, and he's been communicating, and every time we ask questions, he's responded to us. We want to thank you. We do want to address a concern. We've sent 2 letters to our concerns regarding, and it hasn't been addressed this evening, and sometimes it's not the scope of the EIR, and we understand that and the focus. Our responsibility is students and their safety. Our board members did not take a position, and I want to go on record that. And they did not take a position because this property belongs to the city of Capitola, and we recognize that. So we're taking a neutral position. But also, there's a different charge. The superintendent is responsible for daily operations of a school district, and the number 1 priority is student safety. And we're hoping this commission reviews those 2 letters, January 5th and January 7th, because we really need response to those answers, because they are going to affect over 740 students. And also, the second part of that is addressing the educational impact. And Richard pointed out in his presentation, there is a noise concern. And no one knows what the impact to the educational environment will be. But we know our educational environment is going to change drastically because we have over 740 students using those fields daily in different periods of the day. So it's going to change our programs. And we hope that is also revisited and looked at that impact. And I'm going to let Harley talk about facilities because Harley has the responsibilities of facilities.
Thank you, Henry.
So as you know, I'm Harley Robertson. I'm the Assistant Superintendent of Business Services for the school district. We are concerned about the bathroom issue. I also want to join Henry in saying what a great job that Rich did on this study. He did a great job in explaining it. We'd still like because the bathroom and safety issues were not a SECA guideline issue to be addressed in the EIR. He's referred the issue to staff and city council members for their consideration. I would like some kind of explanation from the city of Capitola why facilities were not considered as a part of this project. We believe it's going to be a severe impact to us for our already impacted toilet facilities. So just to add on to what Henry said, we are liable for our students' safety from the time they leave school till the time that they get home. If they stop at the skateboard park on the way, that's one of our safety concerns as well. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Harley. Do we have any questions? Okay. Thank you very much. So next is protecting our public parks, or I'm sorry, was it Friends of Monterey Park? There you go.
Obligation. So thank you for letting me speak. My name is Lisa Steingroup, and I represent myself and my husband and Friends of Monterey Park. And forgive me for reading this, but I don't want to leave out anything. So I want to say first that despite the fact that the two proponents of the skate park said on a recent local radio broadcast yesterday that they had no idea why neighbors were opposed to a second skate park on Monterey Avenue, I believe they misspoke, and I believe they know they misspoke. There are many reasons why we have said a skate park of that size, 6,800 square feet, is not an appropriate use of the land at Monterey Avenue Park. All of these reasons have been stated over and over again for the last several years by Cliffwood Heights residents in city council meetings, but I will reiterate them once again, highlighting the most important ones. First, 95% of the residents surrounding the proposed skate park are against a park of that size next to houses. We who are affected the most should have a major say in the park, and we have had almost none. We were told by city council members we would be listened to and our views would be considered, and they were not. Stephanie Harlan said publicly, the skate park, and I quote, is being shoved down the throats of the Monterey Avenue residents, and that's not the way a city council is supposed to conduct business. Noise is another issue which has been brought up many times. Skate parks are noisy. It's not that they're bad, they're just noisy, as the EIR pointed out. Even the two main proponents of the park said at a council meeting, and I quote, we admit that getting to the park from the surface streets will be noisy. Well, that's where we live, on the surface streets. They also said, and I quote, the people who think skate parks are noisy have never been to one. Well, they couldn't be more wrong, because we have all gone to all of them in the county, and they are all noisy. It's a noisy sport. We have been, that's the nature of the sport, and Monterey Avenue Park will follow suit, especially with the features that are part of the park design, specifically the rails. And the closest house is only 53 feet away from the park. Even professional skate park designers agree that, and I quote, when choosing a great skate park site, make sure that the closest home is at least 500 feet away. And the closest homes in the original park design are 200 feet. Traffic and parking. Monterey Avenue is already a very busy street, as you all know. We have a school, a district office, 2 churches, and we are a thoroughfare for traffic heading from to and from Capitola Beach and Capitola Village and New Brighton Beach. This is one of the busiest residential streets in Capitola. A skate park with probable tourists and events will just add congestion, traffic, and parking issues. Capitola already has a skate park less than 3 blocks from Monterey Avenue. The City Council voted to build that at McGregor property. They have spent well over $100,000 on that park. Sam Story left his seat on the City Council and Mayor with the legacy of finally finding a site for the skate park in Capitola. Does a city of less than 10,000 people really need 2 skate parks? I don't think so. Even though the proposed Monterey Avenue skate park will be built by private corporate funds who will profit from the venture, the cost of maintenance, police, and emergency personnel will go on to perpetuity. And what about the issue of aesthetics? You take a lovely green tree-lined park and replace it with cement, fences, hordes of teens and skateboards and boom boxes, and then you ask about aesthetics? Skate parks do not belong in neighborhoods. They belong where young people can have fun and exercise without disrupting the beauty and tranquility
of the folks who have bought home, raised their families, and contributed to our town. It would also create an attractive nuisance for New Brighton Middle School, as older skaters and those teens who are in alternative ed programs would be coming and going to the park during regular school hours. Having been a high school teacher for 35 years and a frequent substitute teacher currently, I can't imagine trying to teach a lesson with the noise and visual distraction of a skate park right next door. And what about the employees of the district office? How can they do their job with the constant clickety-clack of skaters all day long? Lastly, I would like you to note that the City Council, under the Capitola General Plan, and I quote, has a duty to preserve the character of residential neighborhoods. A skate park in our front or backyards would not do that. The McGregor Park is already nearing completion, and it is an appropriate location for a popular sport that does not affect any neighborhoods. 2 skate parks are not necessary in a town of less than 2 square miles and a small skating population. Please recommend that the City Council not move forward with this plan. There are only 3 City Council members that are eligible to vote on a contentious issue that impacts a large neighborhood of Capitola residents, and that is few people affecting the lives of many. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, there we go. You're representing Protecting Our Public Parks?
With POP, known as POP, but it's Protecting Our Public Parks.
Right.
Mr. Chairperson, good evening. Members of the Planning Commission, my name is Richard Lippy. I live at 620 Monterey Avenue, and my fence line is 53 feet from the proposed skate park, although it's kind of a moving target, so I'm not quite sure where that's going to end up. But I'd like to say that I now represent over 60 households, and I support Friends of Monterey Park. I also support the concerns of the Soquel School District, the PE teachers at New Brighton School, and St. Joseph's Church. I'd like to say that after attending the February 11th, 2015 City Council meeting, and after 400 hours of research on skate parks by myself and communication with neighbors, I founded POP in July of 2015, and it was out of a need to make more available the facts of the project, since it seemed to be surrounded by innuendos, rumors, and misinformation. The POP's website is like a Reader's Digest of facts, figures, and quotations on the subject, along with a look into the subject of skate parks within public parks. And I'd just like to mention that the POP website can be found at greatoptions.net/POP, or anyone can Google POP, P-O-P-P, in Capitola, or Capitola POP, and they'll get to our website. The original concept of a skate park at Monterey Park, as expressed to me in 2010 by Councilman Dennis Norton, was a skate facility for young beginner skaters, 2,000, 4,000 square feet, like the Frederick Street Park in Santa Cruz. Well, that was great. When I heard him say that, I said, you know, I know Frederick Street Park because I lived in the neighborhood for 3.5 years, and for the last 2 years, I took my daughter to Frederick Street Park every other weekend, and my daughter used that skate facility, and I know how it works. It's 3,500 square feet. Parents usually show up, and the kids come with a variety of devices. But in January of 2012, a proposed 9,000 square foot skate park at Monterey Park was rejected by the City Council. And they made some suggestions to the applicants, actually directives, to submit the following changes. They said the skate park shall be 6,000 square feet or less. It shall have softened features, which they described as being safer for younger skaters. It should be less noisy, and do not remove the eucalyptus trees. Well, on February 11, 2015, the applicants presented a proposal to the City of Capitola that they claimed fulfilled those directives. And reading from the agenda packet, it's written, this is by the presenters. The presentation this evening will provide council with those revised plans for a skate park at 6,000 square feet, smaller and softened features, and geared toward younger to teenage children 3 to 14. Well, now we know that what they actually were showing is, that's the way they portrayed it, but actually the skate park is 6,811 square feet. No other activity is going to happen inside that enclosure. It was supposed to be 6,000 or less. The features, they didn't describe any features being softened. As a matter of fact, they added a feature that has now been taken out. But it's not safer for younger skaters, because if you go to the POP website where we have general design considerations, one would see that less than 10,000 feet, trying to combine beginners and intermediates doesn't work. And by shrinking this down and leaving all of the noise-producing features, it's going to be more dangerous for younger skaters. It's not less noisy because all the features are the same, because all they did was scale it down, but they left all of the features. And now we're looking at the possibility of losing our eucalyptus trees. So I respectfully ask that the Planning Commission deny all aspects of this application for this public skate park at Monterey Park on the grounds that it does not meet the intent of the 2012 City Council directives. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So now we'll start and I appreciate you folks all being respectful of everyone, letting them have their turn to speak and keeping it quiet, so I appreciate that. And I'll just say one more time, because some of you in the back may not know this, but if you go through the other side of that entryway, there's a room set up with a TV there. You can also see the meeting if you don't want to stand there. So with that, we'll open this up to public comment. If we could have people just line up, and we'll, if we keep you off to the side a little bit, except for the person come to the podium, and state your name and write it down if you haven't already done so. And we'll give each person 2 minutes to speak. Thank you.
I'm speaking today as a supporter, and I want to tell my story on how a skate park has been...
Could you tell us, start with your name?
Yeah, my name is Brittany Barrios.
Okay, thanks.
How it's not only been beneficial to me, but why I think it will be beneficial to this community. My name is Brittany Barrios. I'm 29 years old. I have a daughter who recently turned 1, and I grew up in Santa Cruz and consider 41st Avenue and the skate and surf community of this area my family. I'm here today not just for myself, but as a voice for my daughter and the individuals who could not attend. The voice for those who some may say do not count because of their gender or what they put under their feet. I want to start by telling you why skateboarding is so crucial to my life, my well-being, and peace of mind. As a twin, I was born underdeveloped, where my heart wasn't as strong as most individuals. I have not been capable of cardio activity since middle school, primarily because my heart was not strong enough to endure it. That disability changed when I found skateboarding. I had finally found a sport that was low enough impact that I can enjoy it and succeed at it. As a young adult, I was intrigued by skateboarding, and because someone told me I wasn't capable of it. This happened at a time where only a handful of women skateboarders were here in this county. I soon grew confidence and courage to skate a park that was predominantly male-driven at the time. I did not feel judged, and I did not have fear that I wasn't good enough. I found a community that picked me up when I fell, literally. They supported me when I felt I could not for myself. The sport did not discriminate against me. I found this support through men, women, and children of all races and all backgrounds. I found this not only in our community, but the skate communities of the world. It is hard for me to call it a sport, for how I see it, it is a way of life. Yes, skateboarding had a bad reputation. So has surfing, amongst other sports. But let's not look at these sports in their past. Let's move forward to see the positive growth, contributions, and revenue it's brought to our community today. I speak on behalf of my fellow skaters who are mothers, fathers, teachers, business owners, and leaders of our community today. We are part of this community. We represent strength, confidence, drive, and perseverance. We pick up the less fortunate where others may not. I have watched skateboarding keep children out of gangs, save addicts from addiction, help decline obesity in children, and adults to maintain their health.
Thank you, Brittany.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, my name is Marilyn Warder, and I live on Unibrow Court, so my street borders Monterey Park. And I'm a member of Friends of Monterey Park, but I don't speak for them tonight because I've never been opposed to the original plan of a small skate park like the one at Frederick Street, because I think that's a very appropriate location for a park like that, because it would be a nice beginner's park, and it wouldn't impact the community in a significant way, I don't believe. I think that the city council and the proponents of the park have been looking for a neighborhood or a place for skate parks for a long, long time, from what I've been told. And they always had opposition from the neighbors, the immediate neighbors. I mean, I'm sure people who live, several blocks away in Cliffwood Heights aren't going to be impacted by this location. But those of us who live right around the park are going to be significantly impacted. And, I know they've estimated the noise levels, but when the real noise levels happen in this park, where the features have not been softened at all, the park is smaller and deeper than the original one, and there's the same number of elements plus, that bumpy wall that's going to make noise. There's no restroom at the park, and that's going to be a major, that's kind of an environmental impact, because, there's bushes there, and that's what's going to happen. So I just don't think it is an appropriate location for a skate park of that size, and I wish you would at least let the skate park at McGregor happen. I mean, the people in my neighborhood were relieved when that was approved. We thought this was put to bed, and then sort of in secret, and we weren't aware of it, the proponents went around and got signatures from people who are not bordering the park and who are not impacted by it, and then brought this whole thing forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, come on.
Hi, I'm Danielle Scott with Dreamland Skateparks. I just want to step forward. We've been involved with the project for, I think 6 years now. 6 years now. I would like to say, when we pulled up today to the site, I saw no less than 12 kids with skateboards in their hands in front of the school. They held their skateboards as they crossed the street. This location is ideal for kids. It does not disrupt the current fields nor the potential for a current soccer field, U12 field to the left. All of the features that are currently designed in the skateboard park do not exceed over 2 feet above ground, and that's only in one location. So visibly, it does not disturb the ground more than 2 feet and 18 inches on one side. The skate park is built in ground, which helps with the sound, along with a fence for anybody concerned in flying skateboards. It complements the fact that there is a multi-use park. Not everybody that skateboards, they also play baseball, softball, they go to school. We have built over 125 skate parks around the world. Over 25 of those recently have been built next to schools and multi-use parks. We have currently not seen any problem with that. The bowl design, it is not enclosed bowl. It is open, so it is visible from all areas of the park. Okay, go ahead.
So what we tried to do when we designed this is to incorporate a skate park into what exists, so there's minimal impact. What you'll see in the design, and you probably reviewed the plans by now, is that there's minimal impact to what will be exposed outside of the ground. So 18 inches on one side, 2 feet on the other, but it will be sloped up to there where you would only see approximately 6 inches to maybe a foot in some areas of exposed vertical concrete. Staff said earlier that the tallest feature will be the 6-foot fence. So we're, with the size and what we were trying to do with the skate park, there's very minimal impact to the environment.
Sorry, I thought we had 3 minutes. I
Yeah.
think we only had 2.
Thank you.
I have a question to them, is that all right? Mm-hmm. What age skater is this park designed for?
It is designed for the beginner to intermediate level.
And so it's not age sensitive, it's just the skill level of
No,
the skater.
I'm 30-some years old, and I'm a beginner level. I don't think that there's any restriction to age. Sorry about that. I would like to close with the fact that the extreme generosity from Richard Novik has never been seen in the 25 years we have designed and built skate park. Privately or publicly around the world, there has never been a privately fully funded by one source skate park.
Thanks, Danielle.
Good evening. Good evening. My name's Tim Crowley, and I built that park. And I made those mounds. Those mounds were not there. And we thought we should have put a bathroom in when we built that park. I didn't have white hair when we built that park. I've worked for Granite Construction for 34 years, and your presentation was good. It sounds like the noise levels are well below what they need to be. When you have a smooth surface concrete like it's going to be at that skate park, you don't hear the clickety-clack. Because the only time you hear clickety-clack is when you go over sidewalks. These are my kids back here that are hiding. They are New Brighton Middle School honor roll students, and they all skate. And I'm tired of them having to go skate at Nob Hill parking lot or some other parking lot where they're going to get run over. Because we don't have a skate park. I don't know what happened to McGregor. They're having soil mitigation problems. Hopefully we get them solved. In the meantime, we could get this park going, and from what I understand, it could be done in 7 to 8 weeks. So, sounds like all the studies have been done. I know there's people that don't agree with it living next to the hidden park. I've dealt with noise at nighttime sometimes. Most of the people that go to the hidden park on Sir Francis entrance are not people that live in the neighborhood. They're mostly people that come to do birthdays there and things like that. So there's going to be some impact at first when it gets started because you're going to have to adjust for it, right? But it'll settle down eventually, right? It'll settle down eventually. And maybe they can do a skate team. The school, they have a surf team. Maybe they can do a skate team, right? So they can go over there and use that park, and they can teach kids. There's a lot to be learned there. So anyway, there's good kids that go skating.
Thank you, Jim.
My name is Dylan Williams. My name is Jake Woodman. And we think the noise level isn't that bad since think of downtown skate park, Jose Avenue skate park, and Felt Street skate park. It's still just across the street and there's houses. So, and I don't think there's really that many complaints about noise level in those skate parks, and so I think that it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
I think that it should be at New Brighton because you can't walk to Moderator, and at New Brighton there will be a bunch of other kids skating. So, yeah.
Thank you, guys.
We're going to start that over.
She'll start it.
I'm going to move the mic.
Great.
If you can give us your name and speak into the mic. There you go.
Sorry. My name's Carla Villarreal. I've sent in many a letter. Every time there's a chance to speak, I'm here speaking. I'll try to make it brief. I'm at 706 Orchid. That's where the corner of the school property and the Monterey Park is. So I'm a real person, and I don't think it's about the number of people who want this. That doesn't make it right, what's happening. It will impact us greatly. I don't think we need that many studies to know that 96 feet from my fence is way too close. I know people say that whole not in your backyard business, but it's almost literally in my backyard. I don't think moving it towards Monterey so it's not as close to my house is an answer, because then it affects those neighbors. And I'm a neighbor, and I'm acting in a neighborly way when I say this is not okay. I'm also a parent. I'm a school teacher. And to me, it's surreal that it's being considered to be putting a skate park right next to a school, an already open campus. I'm not worried so much about graffiti as who's going to hang out there during the school day, when the kids are walking home.
Skateboarding, if you've hung out at a skate park, involves hanging out, sitting for hours, a lot of loitering. You don't know who's there that is someone that might harm the children or follow someone home or scope them out while they're running the track. It just, we don't live in a bubble. Things happen in Capitola also. We should be making our schools safer, not inviting people to come near them. Also, my big thing is it's not about numbers. I know the people most of the people right on the park are opposed to this. Some of our neighbors, yep. Thank you.
Next.
Hello, my name is Cynthia Rothmeier. I am a mother, I am a grandmother, I am a teacher. I run a children's art program at my home now. I used to run the children's art program for Soquel Elementary Unified School District as a private contractor. I've spent my entire life entertaining children, educating children, and keeping them happy and safe. I see the skate park as a tremendous gift to this community. As somebody who's done a lot of fundraising for children's activities, to find a single donor willing to bankroll this, I have to applaud anyone willing to put up the money to help kids have a positive outcome and be outside playing instead of sitting on a phone. I think a public park is exactly where this belongs. I think it's safer for the children at the school to go to a skate park near the school than to have to cross a busy intersection or be dragged across town. I'm friends with all these boys. Raise your hands if you've gone a ride to a skate park with me. Okay? Hello. There's more. They're lying. I drive all over the place. I work very hard, and I want this available to my grandchildren. I noticed that a lot of the speakers who don't want the skate park are in my age group. I happen to be an older mom, but I have 4 kids, and my youngest is in 8th grade. And this would have been a tremendous boon to him and me, because there would be less traffic around town if I didn't have to go get him, bring his skateboard, and take him over to Felt so we could impact their neighborhood. We don't have anything here for the kids. This is a tremendous activity for them. These are not, the previous speaker talked about who hangs out at skate parks. These are honor roll students, every one of them. They're good students, they're good kids, they're the helpers that, people talk about. They're great. They're great to little kids. When another kid falls down, they pick them up. It is inspiring, and I want to see that kind of activity at our parks.
Thank you, Cynthia.
Good evening. My name is Penny Novik Disbro. I am in favor of the Capitola Skate Park on Monterey Avenue. Younger generations of families are moving into Capitola. I have been following this project all along, and after reviewing the EIR comments, I see nothing wrong, and that's been proven with all the studies conducted and performed. There is nothing better than the sound of kids and their families enjoying all sports in a public park. Our family has lived in Capitola since 1945. I attended and graduated from 8th grade in 1959 from Capitola Elementary at the time, which is now New Brighton Middle School. This location is safe and easy access for the kids, and plus it's close for them to get to, along with their families. Growing up in Capitola as a kid, my backyard was my swimming pool to the beach. We had a bowling alley, a theater, arcades, merry-go-round, and boat rentals for use in the lagoon, and seeing the sights upriver. Today, none of these exist, other than privately, personal-owned boats. The greatest gift you can give the parents and kids of Capitola is this wonderful gift to Capitola from Richard Novik, a kid who grew up in Capitola, who still lives in Capitola, attended and graduated from schools here. He's a successful business owner and who is always wanting to give something back to the kids. I would like to say a special thank you to Marie Martorella and Tricia Proctor for their endless hours working towards making this dream come true for the kids and all the kids of Capitola. I do hope that you approve this project. I love Capitola, and I hope that it will be approved. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mickey Vukovic. I was introduced earlier. I'm the executive director of the Tony Hawk Foundation. We're a Southern California-based nonprofit foundation founded by the professional skateboarder. We have worked all over the country over the last 14 years and have helped to open 500 skateboard parks in every state. A couple things I'd like to mention about this park. We've been working with Tricia and Marie for about 2 years now in an advisory role to review their plans and offer our suggestions in terms of best practices. Two things I want to mention. One is that this skate park is actually very unremarkable in many ways. It is a little bit undersized for what we typically see. It is in a typical location, and it is in a site that, from our review, is ideal for Capitola in many ways. It is accessible. It is visible. It is in the heart of the community where most of the families and the users reside, so they can easily access it, not necessarily by motor vehicle, but on their own volition, by bike, skateboards, or on foot. It's also in combination with the skateboard park I know that is being built up at McGregor. It is a different style and very complementary. And so I think combined, what Capitola will achieve if both parks are completed is the full range of services for skateboarders. One thing I do want to say, though, also is that it is very remarkable in that you do have a world-class designer and builder working on this project who typically works on much larger projects. So while it won't be the large attraction district and regional type of skate park that you might see in other cities, it will be a world-class, high-quality skate park that will be perfect for your residents. It will attract the local users, and I know that tonight there have been a lot of innuendos about activities and fears about what might happen at the skate park, but I would like to remind you that at this size and this scale, that this skate park will be what we consider a neighborhood skate park, which means it'll attract primarily local users and your kids, essentially. Right now, there's about 5.4 million skateboarders in the U.S. That's about 1 in 6 kids.
Thank you, Mickey.
If it's not your kids, it's your friends' kids, and that's who will be using this park, as you've seen tonight.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Brad Oates. I live at 816 Balboa. I am one of the older dudes you will see at the skate park. I have a 5-year-old. I have a 2-year-old son. I've lived in the Cliffwood Heights neighborhood for about a decade. It's very rare that you see someone, the generous support of one person willing to put this towards a skate park and help a community out like this. People are bringing up the noise issues. Felt Street, if you go check out the Felt Street skate park, it is right across the street from a number of homes, right there in the Live Oak community. It's well received. The kids are loving it. It's a great benefit to the community. Skateboarding is about to be an Olympic sport. There's over 10 million worldwide users. When people talk about McGregor being about a mile away from this park, remember there are about 5 to 10 world-class surf breaks within the 6 to 10 mile radius in this community, and they're all very different. To act like the Hook is like Capitola Jetty would be strange. The people that are building the skate park are the world's best skate park builders. So we're going to have a world-class, smaller facility here that's going to be used for generations to come. And it's going to be great for the community, and we can't wait for it to be built. I live within a mile of both skate parks that are being built. The McGregor, the one with the contaminated soil, is also in a very dangerous intersection that I almost, every time I walk to New Brighton Beach, I almost get hit. So thanks for the support for the community, and can't wait to skate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Brett. Next.
Hi, my name is Michaela. I live in Capitola, and I support the skate park at Monterey.
Thanks, Michaela. Short and sweet. Next.
Hi, I'm, wait a minute, I'm going to sign my name. Don't start me yet. Hi, my name is Terry Thomas. We live around the corner from New Brighton, and we've been walking our dogs at the park for years, and so have many other dog walkers. And I'm afraid that the grinding wheels and the scraping boards and the noise would destroy the tranquility of the park and scare the dogs. We have a perfectly good park that's going up at McGregor, and we haven't even given it a chance to succeed yet before we're starting to build another one less than a mile away. My suggestion would be to think about something like one on the other side of the creek so that the other side of town gets as much enjoyment out of skateboarding as our side of the park, or our side of the creek is going to get to do. I'm worried about the disturbance to the classes if it's going to be open at 8 o'clock in the morning during school hours, and the conflicts that might occur if after school. The design looks a lot larger than the site that's fenced. I walk there every day, and I notice that there's only 2 8.5 by 11 pieces of paper that say there's a public hearing here tonight, and you certainly could never see them from the parking lot, let alone the street. So I thought that was lousy notification for those people that do use the park. I think that the elements of the design are too close to the fence, that you're trying to squeeze too much into too small of a space. And so if you do think about passing this, I think it's really important that you think about making it smaller and softer so that we can all tolerate it a little better. Having two locations would double the requirements of policing, and I want you to consider how much it's going to cost, because a police officer is going to have to get out of his car to go police that park area. He can't do it from the road, and he can't do it from the parking lot. So if you're going to be policing two skateboard parks, that needs to be taken into consideration. And I won't even go in about garbage and whatever else has to go on in bathrooms.
Thank you, Terry.
Oh, time's up. Okay. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Joey Miller. This is my son Benjamin, and we live up on Depot Hill. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Tricia and Marie for their endless efforts in making this hopefully come to fruition. I'd also like to say thank you to Rich for for his generosity in wanting to fund such an amazing opportunity. And I do think of this as an opportunity for the city of Capitola, an opportunity to positively impact our city's children. And that's really the way to look at it. And just for some background, I was born and raised in Santa Cruz. I grew up skating and surfing. Skating is a social sport. People will be hanging out, and that's one of the greatest things I remember as a child, was growing up and being able to go and hang out with my buddies, having a safe place to go. One of the greatest things I also remember was having older kids there, because the older kids always watch out for us, and it's a subculture. It's something that maybe isn't mainstream. But kids need that opportunity to have something other than just mainstream sports. My son plays baseball. I coach baseball. We do mainstream stuff. But I'm one of those old guys that still goes out there and ice skate as well. One of my greatest joys is going surfing and skating with my son. I don't think it's going to be anything but an opportunity for the city to provide something, a lasting thing for generations to come that will positively affect our children. And just for the council's information, I'm also a probation officer here in Santa Cruz County, and I certainly am not going to advocate for anything that is going to be that would bring a dangerous element to our community. That's something I would absolutely never want to have happen, and it's just simply a misconception and a prejudice against a preconceived notion of what skaters are. Skaters are good kids, and they grow up to be good adults who are productive citizens. Thank you.
Thank you, Joey. And Benjamin.
Hello, my name is Jessica Kraus. I just want to clarify, I did not break my hand skateboarding. But anyways, I wanted to get straight to the point. This is for the youth, and please don't rob the youth at their chance of having happiness. And that would just be a huge disappointment, I think, all around to people for this community and for people as a humanity. So, and all these problems that you're bringing up are very easy to fix as long as you just look at previous models of skate parks and put a toilet in at the facility, which is not that difficult, and put a fence there. But besides the point, I'm sorry for the people that live near the skate park or are going to be living near the skate park or chose to buy their house near a public park. So, anyways, thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Jessica.
Hi, I'm Sharon Fitzgerald. I'm another mom from New Brighton, and I'm a mom of one of these kids that hangs out with the wonderful honor roll students that do like to skate, and they do other sports. And I wanted to address Linda Smith's question about if moms are going to be driving and going to be responsible. And I drive a lot, like the other mom was saying, and it's really fun for me because I work part-time in high tech, and I'm also lucky enough to work only part-time, and so I get the other part to be a soccer mom or a skate mom or a baseball mom. And so we are there, and we're looking after the kids, and we really enjoy that they like it, and they're very good kids, and they get good grades, and they do really well, and I'm excited about the part. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you.
Sign in real quick if I could. Good evening. Thanks for having us tonight, and thanks for the public comment. My name is Noah Fox. I am a homeowner in Cliffwood Heights. I live on the Orchid end of Wesley Street. In fact, when we were looking at the location map, my house is almost directly underneath the yellow arrow that was pointing to the location. So I'm very near the park. I don't know the exact distance, but I would say probably under 50 yards. I'm here to voice my unequivocal support for the park. As a neighbor, it's actually interesting. I want to comment on something real quick. I heard a statistic that was talked about earlier, that 95% of Cliffwood Heights neighbors are against the park. I don't remember ever seeing that survey. So I for one, am absolutely for the park, and I think it's a huge benefit to my community. I have a 7-year-old and a 15-year-old, and for the past 9 years or so, I've been taking my daughter up to Scotts Valley to go ride because it's the best family skate park in the area, in my opinion. So I absolutely look forward to having a community park that's near us, that's within walking distance. And personally, I think Monterey Park as it is underutilized. So this development, I hope, is phase one of future development of maybe putting a play structure in later. I know it's another meeting, but I think this is an important project. It would be good for the community, and like people have said, I think it's a good gift. Thank you.
Thank you, Noah.
Hi. This is the scariest thing I've ever done. My name is Shona McDougall. I live close to the park. I will admit that. I'm also married to a skateboarder and mom to a skateboarder. And I know it's great for us to fantasize about a skate park where our kids will hang out and have a wonderful time. I'm concerned about not our great kids, because all of our kids are great, trustworthy, wonderful kids. It's outside influences coming in. And I don't know how or if we can control that. This is a big concern, particularly because we're sitting so close to a school, a middle school, with children who are at a very highly impressionable age. And I'm not sure that there will be any way to dictate who may or may not be in that space during school hours. And it makes me very nervous. I just wanted to voice my concern about that.
Thank you, Shona.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Gabriel Garcia. I'm an immediate neighbor of Monterey Park. I recently moved in, and I think this is a great community that I have moved into, right? I grew up surfing and skateboarding, so I know firsthand it's a great sport. It's great for kids. I started skateboarding when I was about 10 or 8 years old, and I skateboarded up until like my late 20s. I don't generalize about the sport. I think there are a lot of smart kids, great athletes, right, that this sport has created. However, there is this inevitable crowd that this sport tends to attract, right? And again, as my wife has just stated, we're not worried about your kids because we know you guys are great and are super smart kids that do great at school and great at whatever sports you guys do.
Hey, Gabriel, if you could speak towards us, so I'd appreciate
yeah.
that.
Sorry. So yeah, again, our main concern is all the crowd that this park might attract, right, or will attract, because it's not a matter of if it will, it's that it will attract it, right? As an immediate neighbor to the park, I mean, I'm kind of bummed that we, when we bought our house right next to it, I mean, we bought it because we were in front of a great park, right? The noise that this is going to generate and the crowd that it's going to generate. I have a 10-year-old girl that's going to attend New Brighton School, and I'm not just speaking just for her. I'm speaking by all the kids who attend the school. It's a big concern for me that when they come out of school, they're going to walk to a park where there will be these wonderful, great kids right next to it, right? But there will be this other crowd that could be even preying on the kids, right? And that's one of my main concerns. The other concern is the noise, right? How are kids going to be able to concentrate when they're in class, in the middle of a class, listening to skateboards?
Thank you, Gabriel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Tim Pumarda. I'm the immediate past president of the Cabrillo Lions Club of Aptos. And as you know, with Lions, our motto is we serve the community. And our service area extends from La Selva Beach to Live Oak. And not only do we serve people who need eyeglasses and free eye surgeries, but we also serve the community youth and the environment. And I like this project. And I could be, I think, the oldest skateboarder in this room at 57 years old. And I still skateboard every day, and I enjoy it. I have put 3 children through CAPE in New Brighton. I've been a school site council president when my kids were going through school. And my wife was a home and school club president several times because, of course, no one else would step up. This area is very special to me. I've lived in Capitola for decades. I presently reside in SoCal because the kids could walk to SoCal High. But our club, I will go back to our club and say this park, this area deserves some attention from the Cabrillo Lions. And we have a board meeting coming up in April. And I will suggest that once we're done with the bathroom facilities at the Polo Grounds Park, that were never put in after about 20 years, and our club decided to help the county do that. I will suggest that we consider helping and adopting this park, because not only am I a Lion, but I'm a skateboarder. So thank you.
Thank you, Tim.
Good evening. My name is Terry Campion, and my wife and I own 2 stores on 41st Avenue that sell skateboards. Currently, the Santa Cruz Boardroom is one of the largest skateboard shops in the country. Most of the kids that are using this park are my customers and my friends. They're great kids. I've had 2 kids go through New Brighton Middle School. I have been on, if my fence fell over, it lands in Jade Street Park. I've lived there 30 years. My wife was born and raised in that home. Parks are noisy. It's a park. Shouldn't kids have fun in parks? Is it not a, shh, you're in a park? It's a park. I live next to a park. I love it. I feel like we've been generalizing skateboarders, and it really makes me upset. This is not a destination skate park. This is a small skate park. If you've done any research on skate parks across the country, it's a small skate park. This isn't Compton. Our kids can walk around and have a good time and get to this park and have a great time. It's a gift. I've never heard, the people from Dreamland just said it, I've never heard of a gift like this. It is a gift that will live on for generations. I'm thankful that my grandchildren are going to have a place to skateboard in Capitola. As far as the McGregor sites go, our previous city attorney told me that site's for sale. You guys are the planning department. You can raise your hand if you know anything about that. But I was told that I could invest and buy that property myself. No future of a skate park. That's not the future. The future is a park that is called a park, and it's going to stay a park. And we're going to build a skateboard facility for our children and our grandchildren and their grandchildren. That's what we need in this town. It's not going to get any easier. If we don't approve this project, there may never be another one again. We sure know that Capitola can't afford it. and maybe Richard Novak won't pay for it. But right now, we have the gift of all gifts. Let's not blow it, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry.
Hi. Good evening. My name is Neil Pearlberg. I am a radio show host for KSCO, also a writer for Santa Cruz Waves and a former writer for Santa Cruz Sentinel. I do approve of this skateboard project that's going on here today, but also wanted to, the people that oppose the project, I did live across the street from Felt Street Park when it was constructed, and my house was 100 feet from that park. So when it was constructed and after it was constructed, the kids that skated there was no more impact of noise than any other day before the skate park was even built. So for those of you opposed, don't worry. There's no extra noise. It's just kids having a great time. There's no better fun than that than hearing kids have a good time. I'm also a high school coach here for Kirby. I was a former coach at Harbor High, Mission Street School, and at Shoreline. 90% of the kids who played soccer for my team skateboarded. They all loved it. It was a part of their life. As Terry says, in this town you're born with a skateboard on the one arm and a surfboard on the other. That's the way this town was born, and it's going to continue to be that way for the next 100 years. So I do approve of this project. One other thing, eucalyptus trees that are in that park, which are going to be replaced by the skateboard park, hopefully. Eucalyptus trees are poisonous and toxic. Skateboard parks are not. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil.
Hi, my name is Kim Novik. I have a home here in Capitola. I also am a mother of 3 children, 6, 9, and 12. I also have the honor of having worked at the Tony Hawk Foundation as their development director for the past 14 years since its founding. And I've had the actual privilege and honor of being able to see us usher in over 500 skate parks across the country. And when I tell you that I have seen firsthand the amazing results, no community has walked away saying, oh, we shouldn't have done that. In my opinion, this is an incredible gift to this community, both in the financing, running development. It's not easy to finance an entire skate park at this caliber. I think it is a tremendous gift, and I think it would be a very big lost opportunity for this town. I've been in here since the 80s, and I have seen the town change as well since then. And to have a skate park like this, of this caliber, in a safe area for kids to go, I think would be an incredible asset to this community. And I think that we've seen it time and again through the 500 parks that we've seen put in. So I speak absolutely in favor of having this park.
Thank you, Kim.
This is the first time to one of these things for me.
Well, welcome.
I'll sign you in. You can talk.
Okay. My name is Cecilia Hall Novak, mother of Richard Novak. Of course, I'm for the skate park. I have skaters all around me. I love it. I love kid noise. I'm for the skate park, period. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Novik.
My name's John Hunter. Been a local here for years. I work for a local surf company. I've been with them for 35 years. I was lucky enough to grow up in this area, not at such a great time as now, in the sense that when I was really young, 9, 10, skate parks were popping up everywhere. It was a really awesome deal. But right around when I got to that critical age, which is right around 14, you guys may remember it was when the SoCal skate park basically got demolished. So it got built, kids had a place to go, it was an amazing thing, and it was gone because of different things that were happening back then with insurance and all these other things. So skate parks popped up all across the U.S., they went away. Well, when they went away, myself and a bunch of my friends, we ended out on the streets, skating on people's curbs, skating in front yards, roaming and finding parking lots and other places that weren't really a great place to be. You know, I was very fortunate. A lot of my good friends, we still skate. We surf every single day. Skating and surfing, as I've heard a few times, it's a way of life, and it's a good way of life. I've been in the industry for years. I'm going to be in it till it's over. I have two kids that go to school in the district, one that's 14. My other little girl's 5. They both skate. They love it. They both surf. This is the most awesome gift ever. I personally, I mean, I love it that you have the McGregor project, but I'm personally not going to be bringing my kids there. That's not where I'm going to be feeling real safe about having my kids. At the Monterey Park site, it is so kid-friendly, and it's so lacking a place for the kids to play. And you look at all great parks, they have something great for kids. That park's lacking it. It's missing that perfect element, and this is the gift that will make the change. You know, we all have little things in our neighborhoods or near our house that may make noise or may get built there, and there's all these different things. But reality is a place for our kids to have a future and grow and have a good time. It's an awesome opportunity, and I fully support this and look forward to having it there for my kids and all of yours.
Thanks, John.
Hello.
Hi.
My name is David Stowe, and I live 709 Monterey. It's pretty much close across from where the proposed park will be. I've heard people say that there'll be minimum or no impact. However, will be impacted immediately as soon as they start construction. And then the noise. There's been skateboarders over there practicing in the parking lot. They get on the curb and they ride down the curb. They slick it down so they can slide. It's very loud, and the skateboards themselves are just noisy. I think it's going to impact traffic too. I think what's going to happen is that parents will bring their kids there. Some of the kids will leave school and go directly to the park. It's going to be like babysitters, but we don't want to, you try not to stop kids from having a good time, but there's one park being built, one's enough, I think, We have the people that constantly coming up and down the street right now, just when they come up down to use this park, they'll be using the skateboarding down the street. So it's going to be busy even then. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stone.
Second page. My name is Catherine Sweet, and I'm a resident of Soquel. And I just had my youngest, who attended New Brighton Middle School here over at Easter Holidays, with her 13-year-old. So while I don't have young children anymore, those kids have kids. Children belong in parks, and I think this is such a wonderful opportunity for this community to have a place for the younger kids. As a park advocate for the last 30 years in Soquel for AJC Park, all I can say is, as one of the founding members of Friends of AJC, we're jealous. This is a wonderful place for kids. It's a wonderful place for a skate park, and I really hope you support it. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Dan Steingroup. Live at 701 Monterey Avenue, right across the street from the proposed project. Just to get to it quickly, my two things I'm going to go with are noise. The EIR fell very short in addressing noise issues that will be created if the proposed skate park moves forward. I just want to address two of those tonight. Number one, there was no mention, unless the finished product did, no mention of second-story bedroom windows. They weren't mentioned. So that to me is pretty important, since I have an upstairs bedroom, 2 of them. Number two, probably the most important one, the report states that the skate park will generate noise that on occasion will be as noisy as the usual incidental noise from the surrounding area. Okay, if that's true, when school is out, a weekend, summer vacation, When can we expect a respite from the usual noise? Never, apparently. We will have a skate park next to our homes generating that noise level 24/7. That 95% of us that surround the proposed 6,800 square foot park, not 6,000, deserve some quiet just like the rest of the community. I have a newspaper article I saved from Sam's story when he was a city council member. It stuck with me for these last few years. He voted no on a proposal to have a leash dog park at Capitola Beach. His reason? Since we cannot control people from the outside who will come and use the park, I cannot vote for it. You will have the same problem here. We already have a skate park in a safe location and away from residential homes. Let's see how it goes. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
Good evening. My name is Helen Bryce. I know some of you have heard me talk about this before. I did drop off copies of my comments. Earlier, we heard Mr. Grinnell mention the conflict between preserving the unique features and the quality of life in a residential neighborhood and the importance of having recreational activities in an active park. I would like to say that there are lots of active features that are not skate parks. And one of them that I know that I've sent you information about is nature play. And although there isn't a nature play proposal in front of you now, I feel it is really important that we preserve that space in Monterey Neighborhood Park for future active play use. And when I say active play, I mean things that are designed for interaction between children and the neighborhood, and taking away the trees specifically would, and or building a skate park in Monterey Park, would rob all of our children of important physical development and mental opportunities, skaters and non-skaters alike. I would just like to say that the booklet that I sent to you, Nature Play welcomes a constellation of users. Nature play and learning spaces reach out to the whole community of users, children of all ages, including the first months of life, accompanying parents and elders, independent youth and youth groups, all cultures and ethnic backgrounds, people of all abilities and those with special needs. I would like to remind you that we have special needs kids at the school and in the neighborhood who don't skate. Children in wheelchairs, deaf children, blind children, children with no sense of balance.
Thank you, Helen.
Thank you.
Have you signed in already, ma'am?
Yes, I have,
Okay.
both electronically and in paper.
Go right ahead.
Good evening, Elizabeth Russell. The noise level analysis in the EIR is based on a false premise. It pretends that the skateboarding activities will not occur after the park is closed at night or in the early morning before it has opened. This premise is 100% false. Please open your folders and refer to the case study. On the left-hand side of your folder, you'll see a Vancouver skate park that's currently, this issue is being debated right now. And these are the sound level results for nighttime skateboard use and early morning skateboard use in that park, done in a thorough study. What's important is the park is an exact same replica. It's in a neighborhood housing, single residence neighborhood with the same proximities. Here you see in this park, in a very detailed analysis, they hit sound levels of 70 decibels, 70 decibels, 67 decibels. Those are and where the ambient normally is 44, 39, or 41. So you see as far as a 31 decibel difference between what the normal ambient noise level would be at that time and what you're having in the skateboard park when it is theoretically closed, and this park has a 10-foot high fence and regular police patrols. On the other side, you have our Capitola sound level chart, which Rich sent me. You can see it's from Rich because I asked him to get this information. You can see that what the normal levels are, normally acceptable up to 60. Then you get normally unacceptable up to 70 and conditionally unacceptable starting at 70. So you can see we have 3 of those sound levels in an actual real case study that are happening much later. Please get the correct data, ask for it, to have that level of sound study before you make a decision. That's all I'm asking. Have real data when you make this decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, I just want to say my name is Cooper Weens, and I'm for the skate park. And people have been complaining about noise and the odd people coming into the skate park and skating because they just want to be around kids, which is kind of odd to me because most of the kids that are here are really smart and they understand when something isn't feeling like, as my woodshop teacher would say, the uh-oh voice in our head goes off. But and the kids, like, they're going to realize if something's bad, that bad is going to, like, occur. So they'll just leave and not take any part in it. And it's just really odd to me that people are, like, disregarding our sense that our parents have taught us since we were little 3-year-olds and telling us don't take candy from strangers or anything obvious, like just the obvious things that just kind of baffle me.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Richard Novik, and I'm the donor. And I brought my brain trust with me. It's a little over here, and my R&D advisor. So do you have something to say?
I'm for the skate park, and that I think it should go where a safe place is, and that McGregor Drive, it's unsafe, and you can't see anything there, so you don't know if your kid's going to be like, you're just going to get thrown into the woods, or you don't know. So.
Thank you.
So some of my friends ask me why I do this, and this is why I do it. It's for the kids. I've never seen so many honor students, because when I went to school, you barely got C's. I'm a lifelong resident of Capitola. Like my sister said, our playground was the river, the beaches. We didn't really have anything. A long time ago, I think in the late 40s, there was a guy up on Riverview Terrace that we all used to play the sports, baseball, football, basketball, and then the involvement with surfing and stuff. And his name was Harry Hooper, and he built a baseball park for us. And it was a backstop with just really funky. And you break your ankles with the gopher holes. But to us, it was like walking into Yankee Stadium as little kids, about his size, a little younger. And then eventually that became the Little League Park at Capitola School. I was first class to go to Capitola School, and where that park is now was your punishment. You had to go pick up rocks out of there, and I spent a lot of time picking up rocks. So anyway, it's a gift from me to the city of Capitola, and I didn't know it was going to be this hard, and I got to thank everybody here that supports it, and especially the kids that came out, and my nieces that are pushing this project through for me. So.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you.
Do we have any more speakers out there before we wrap this up? Thank you.
All right.
First and foremost, I'd like to apologize to everyone who dislikes the noise. I am the owner of those twins that keep making a lot of it, so my sincerest apologies. Second, real quick, I heard the woman talking about the blind skateboarder, or being blind, being deaf, being in wheelchairs. Just so you guys know, there is definitely a blind skateboarder. Tony Hawk posted a whole video about it a few years back. There are plenty of deaf skateboarders. I have a great friend, Alex, in Arizona, who is a phenomenal skateboarder. He's totally a part of the community, and he's been a lifelong skateboarder. And there are plenty of kids in wheelchairs that ride skate parks as well. So just so you know, it is not exclusive. Skateboarding is very much about a community, and we accept all kinds. The reason I'm here is because I've lived here for 2 years. I work in this town, and I've traveled the world to be a part of skateboarding. I announce for skateboarding contests on TV. And the fact is, there are so many terrible places in the world with wonderful, awesome skate parks, and it really helps to tie these communities together. And we live here in this absolutely phenomenal place, the kind of place that people write about, and they're like, oh, best city in the United States. So why not add more awesome things to this community to help continue to tie this community together? That's the big thing for me. Selfishly, obviously, I'm a 30-year-old man. I've been skateboarding since I'm 11, and I would like to continue to do it, especially down the street from my house. But like I said earlier, I have twins. They're a year and a half. Even just since the last meeting, I can see how much they've grown, and by the time the skate park comes about, they will be skateboarders themselves. So I just want to say thanks in advance for making a wonderful skate park, and thank you, Richard, for donating the money for it.
Thank you. Okay, if that's it, then I think we'll bring it back to the commission for discussion, and we'll close public comment. Thank you, and then thanks for being respectful tonight.
Can we go back to questions of staff?
Sure, absolutely.
Go ahead. All right, I'll go first. I noticed that the security report had something about hardwiring for surveillance cameras, but I noticed that was left off of your conditions. What was the reason for that?
So that was something that the Chief of Police and I have discussed, and I'd like to refer that question to him. I think he could answer it much more directly for you if Chief Escalante could step up.
The chief is working his way up here.
Gail, that was at the top of my list.
Good evening, Rudy Escalante, your Chief of Police.
Me.
Gail's got it.
Gail's got it.
Good evening, Commissioner Ortiz.
The question is, why did you folks decide to leave the hardwiring for surveillance cameras off of the conditions of approval? I know they were recommended by the security.
A couple of the issues that we have to address is the amount of storage, not only that, just the cost of it, how long we retain it, and how to handle Public Records Act requests regarding that information. And so those are all things that we would have to address, whether through a policy statement, something that we would make sure that we would have to add to our retention policy. So those are all things that we would have to think through as to how we'd handle that and the area, where it would be, and the intrusiveness on the neighborhood, if any. So those are all questions that we would have to address if that was something we decided to move forward on.
Mm-hmm. What do you think is the efficacy of those to deter criminal behavior?
Well, video cameras obviously are very effective in identifying certain issues and also protecting areas. We use that quite frequently, obviously, in various areas of the city. But as far as public cameras that we use, we don't have any of those. We rely on private sector and private property people. So it would be a policy decision that we would have to bring forward because it would be the first set of public cameras that we would have.
Okay. Thank you. That answers my question.
So can I ask? Yeah, while Rudy's up there, I got another question for Rudy. Do you have any public safety concerns with the current design?
So as far as skate parks, from a public safety perspective, having the area visible as much as possible would be more effective for us. Removing those impediments that block areas or that provide areas where people can hide or do other things, whether they're associated with the park or not, those are concerns that we would like to see addressed. as to keeping it as visible as much as possible.
And one last question. Let's say that we move forward with the skate park and we have issues. There's other groups coming in from the outside and causing problems. What would you do to stop it?
Well, we are, depending on the level of the activity, we are talking about infraction activity, and so that is something that we would address on a priority scale, just like we do other infraction activity around the city. We always hope, and we work partnerships with our neighborhoods to make sure that we reduce unwanted activity so that it does not affect the quality of life to our community. And we address that in many different ways. And we would obviously respond to calls for service. And with any other problem that we might have in the community, we evaluate those calls. We look at how we can either work with issues through environmental design, landscape design, or whether it's a lighting issue, or how we can address those issues individually. So we kind of use a collaborative approach when we're dealing with those. Again, it would be a response from a priority side and based on the calls for service and the time of year for us.
But if we needed to close the park?
I mean, obviously, we would hope that people police themselves, and Capitola is pretty known for that, and that they do a very good job policing themselves. But if we got to a point where there was quality of life issues, that would be an option for us.
Okay. Even on a temporary basis, just to get rid of the problem?
Again, depending on the problem, and then we would obviously devise particular solutions. But we would ask that would be a potential solution.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, your last question was really related to my question. In a couple other skate parks that I've been involved with the city and their police departments, it wasn't uncommon for them to decide to close a skate park for a period of time, 72 hours or 24 hours, if they felt that there was a problem with graffiti or something else going on, or a problem, for example, with people skating at night. And I'm assuming with the conditions that we have with this skate park, if it did go forward, you would have that ability to do that.
Yes, and speaking with Rich, that was something that we would at least want to have that available to us.
Thank you.
One last question. The proposed redesign of the fence, I believe it's 6 feet high. Do you feel that's an adequate deterrent for nighttime and closed hour?
We worked with staff on that to try and develop some sort of design that would be less attractive to people who would like to try and get over the fence, but something that we can see through, something that we can at least act somewhat of a deterrent by having a fence like that. It is very clear that somebody who has the specific intent to trespass has to go through the lengths, or at least the measures, to do that. And there's no doubt in at least our mind, if we had to enforce a trespass issue or some sort of problem with people sneaking into the park, it's very clear that climbing the fence is not the option.
Which fence were you referring to?
We had talked about the one on the right, as far as the alternative design.
Chief, I had one question. I don't know if it'd be you or Mr. McAdams to answer this. It had to do with lighting, and you recommend some security lighting, but at the same time, how do you provide the security lighting that may not allow lighting for skateboarders?
So the lighting is an important piece as far as crime safety and public safety for us. Without lighting, it becomes an attractive opportunity for people who are looking to get involved in criminal activity, so they're not noticed. And we rely on the public's eyes to help deter criminal activity. And so the lighting may not necessarily just be for police, but it's also for the public. People can see things, they can see more activity from a distance, and again, that supports why I see more visibility. If we can create an opportunity where we can see the park very clearly, and the help with the lighting does help that. And we use lighting in all of our parks, even Esplanade Park, because then we can see things from a distance. It allows us to see those things.
Any more questions for the chief?
No, good.
Thanks, chief. Any other questions for staff?
So I have one quick question. The alternative design is something we need to add into the conditions. That's not in there right now for the fence?
For the fencing, yes.
Yeah, thank you.
I have a question for staff. Do you know, have you had a chance to take a look at the EIR to see whether second-story noise was covered?
So it didn't specifically address second-story noise, and I'll probably ask our noise consultant, Michael Phil, to help me with this. But noise emulates in a kind of a concentric manner. It's noise waves. They go in all directions, up and down, vertically and horizontally at the same area. So if there's no noise impact at a first floor, there would not be necessarily a noise impact at the second floor. So the homes across Monterey Avenue, there was no significant noise impacted going across the street. So, you know, whether it's first floor or second floor, there wouldn't be an impact. But I'll ask Michael if he can elaborate, maybe provide a little more of a technical answer to that question.
Good evening. My name is Michael Thill, a principal consultant with Illingworth and Rodkin out of Petaluma, California. We prepared the noise assessment for the EIR. In regard to your question about the second story, we did look at the homes surrounding.
Can you speak up, Michael?
I'm sorry.
I can't hear you in the back.
Okay. We did look at the homes surrounding the park and the skate park site. There are two-story homes on Monterey Avenue and along Junipero Court. But those homes are all outside of the impact zone in terms of the predicted noise levels.
Any more questions for Mr. Thill?
Hang on a second. I want to follow that one up. So if someone remodeled their house and added a second floor, then would the impact be covered in the EIR?
For the homes along Orchid Avenue within 165 feet of the project site, if they were to add a second story, then there could be a potential that noise levels would be about 5 dB higher at those second story elevations than are predicted in the EIR. However, those second story bedrooms are typically used at night when the skate park wouldn't be used.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Thill.
And I would add that unless your window's open, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think there's some additional sound attenuation provided by the structure itself. You know, so if you're standing on the outside, it's going to be louder than when you're on the inside of your house.
And that's a great point. Noise levels are typically about 15 decibels lower inside with your door or with your windows open for ventilation. And if you close your windows, they're about 25 decibels lower inside. So the predicted noise levels, you could conservatively subtract 15 decibels off those noise levels. Predicted noise levels indoors with the windows open would be about 50, which are below the thresholds that we use to evaluate potential sleep disturbance.
And then was that taken into account for the administration office of the staff there on site?
That's correct. We also looked at the interior noise levels at the elementary school offices and as well at the New Brighton Middle School. And so those same factors can be applied there, about 15 decibels lower indoors, even with the doors and windows open.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
One more related point, the staff recommendation to move the park closer to the parking lot would provide more separation of those homes on Orchid Avenue. So I think it would be well outside the noise impact zone under that scenario.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Thill.
I have two questions for Rich.
Okay, yeah.
First one is the benches that you're recommending would be outside of the fenced area of the park, right?
Yes.
Okay. And what would be required for an event to happen at the park?
So the city has a special event permit process. It's administered by the police department. If somebody wanted to have an event, they would have to go through that process and get city approval.
Those are all my questions.
I have another.
Okay, Carol's got some.
I have another question of staff. Let me see where I am here. Can you remind us, the school district representatives brought up a couple of things that they wrote letters regarding, one having to do with bathrooms and another having to do with disrupting their programs. Was there anything else in that letter that, it's been a while since I read that, and were there other issues that they did not bring up?
From memory, I think their biggest concerns were the use of bathrooms, disrupting the campus, the students and the faculty while they're in a learning environment, some of the activities at the park being a distractions, older kids being there with, in vicinity to a middle school. They did have concerns with the impacts to parents that use that parking lot to pick up their kids, that there may be less spaces. Possibly impacting a soccer field, and then PE courses that they routinely have in Monterey Park, that would displace some of the area that they currently enjoy to use for their purposes.
So is there an agreement between the city and the school district for the school's use of Monterey Park?
My understanding is there's no formal agreement. It's just used and we all live together.
Okay, thank you.
And the alternate site, would that provide more room for a soccer field?
It would. Right now, that grassy area, if it was moved up, that would remain. The area that it would be moved into, there's the eucalyptus trees, so you can sit there, but you wouldn't be able to expand a soccer field into that area without also removing those trees and placing those uses closer to the school district property.
Thank you.
So you've recommended a move, and the EIR recommends a move. Has anybody sketched that out, and have the has the applicant seen any new site?
So the original proposal, I believe, in 2012 was to put a skate park kind of in the area that we're suggesting. It was larger at that time, I believe 9,000 square feet. I've had discussions with the applicants. They did tell me they were kind of evaluating some options based on staff's recommendations, but I'd have to defer to them if they've put a pencil to paper and have started looking at different configurations.
They're raising their hand.
Could we ask them?
Yeah.
Let's ask them.
Hello again. Yes, we do have a tentative.
You guys need to speak up so they can hear in the back.
Yes, we do have a tentative drawing of an alternative location within the park we can show.
We just met with Troy, the designer, and on his way down, he was able to draft this up. So I printed it. I don't have it sent or anything because we just worked on it now, but I don't know if you could project this, but we have two other options. And with that, it does utilize a U12 soccer field also.
Which we've also sketched here.
Do you want to?
So, Mr. Chair, I think there's maybe a little problem here if they introduce like a
something new.
Okay.
So after everyone has already spoken.
Right. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. So we thought about that as well. We just did a quick little sketch.
Okay, but the answer is yes. There are some alternate sites.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
So I'd like to follow up that, because the recommendation from the staff, which, and I don't want to get ahead of ourselves here.
Yeah.
The recommendation from the staff is to approve the application with an alternative site without having a specific plan for that site, and then let the plan be developed and approved by staff.
So the first half of your question, the answer is yes. We're recommending that the project be moved closer to the parking lot, an alternative design, that it be approved, that the use would be appropriate for the park. The second question, I think, is a Planning Commission decision. How would you want that reviewed? Is it something that staff approves? Does it come back to the Planning Commission? Or perhaps it's something the City Council would review? So I would defer that difficult question to you all.
So if there aren't any more questions of staff,
You want to lead off for us?
I would.
Are there any more questions of staff? Then we'll. Okay, Linda, go ahead.
Okay, so so much to say, and where do I start? I don't usually have a lot to say, but tonight I really do, and so I hope you'll bear with me, and I hope you won't mind if I read a little bit of it, because I tried to put my thoughts on paper sometime today. Tonight, we're tasked with considering approval for a design permit and a conditional use permit and certification of the EIR and adoption of the mitigation monitoring and reporting program, which is kind of a bunch of stuff and it's a little complicated. To prepare for tonight, I've read minutes, I've watched videos, I've gone back to council meetings dating all the way back to January of 2012, suggesting a 6,000 approximate square foot park on this site. I've read every letter and every email that has come in since the draft EIR went out. I've visited Santa Cruz County skate parks. I have looked at skate parks in comparable neighborhoods. I visited the McGregor site, which is under construction. I've talked to various authorities and experts about lots of aspects of the EIR and the proposal and skate park in general, trying to educate myself on the elements that are pertinent to land use, as well as design and construction that are needed for a successful project. And I want everybody in the room to know that I hear you. I've tried to put myself in your shoes, both perspectives, looking at it pro and looking at it against. And I want to thank everybody for caring so much. I see a lot of the same names that are here now were here back in 2012. And it's really important to be a part of this process, because I think a lot of what keeps a community together is the process and adhering to the process and involving the entire community. So I thank you for all of that. And I share some of your concerns. I'm a firm believer that the vitality of a community depends in part on fostering an environment that appeals to and accommodates our young people. If we don't have young people who can afford to live here, who want to live here, and who can grow and into mature, good people here, then we die as a community. Urban areas have many number of organizations dedicated to creating places for youth to gather and socialize in a productive way and lead them away from the dangers that boredom and lack of structure can bring. Parents, especially in Capitola, where it's pretty expensive to live, so they're working a lot, need community support in offering activities and facilities that keep up with the changing inspiration of an evolving youth. I remember when surfing was considered a sport that only ne'er-do-wells were involved in. I wasn't raised at the beach, but I have friends who grew up, with their parents telling them, don't hang out with those guys because they're just going to get you into trouble and it's not going to go anywhere. Look how far we've come. Now we recognize the benefits of surfing on health and well-being. We have wounded warriors that come and go out and hang with the surfers and come back and say it made all the difference in the world to them. Surfers no longer carry a stigma of, being the bad boys. And I think personally that skateboarding is a sport that's on a similar evolutionary path. It's been around for a while. It's been growing in popularity. It's been growing in acceptability. It's earning respect of communities all over the place. And I think that we as a community need to be careful with our stereotyping of the people that hang out at the parks. I know we all have experiences at the parks. I've had some recent ones where I really saw a difference in, a couple of older kids who happened to be at this little bitty skateboard park, about the same size that we're talking about here, that was right in the middle of a neighborhood. And when two 13-year-old boys came up and started wanting to skate, the older boys left. They didn't argue with them. They didn't fight with them. You could tell that there was a level of respect between the older guys who were skateboarders and those young kids that showed up that wanted to go skating. And when the kids entered the fencing around the skateboard, you could tell they were real tentative about it. But we can't protect our kids from ever being in that kind of a situation, but we can help them by giving them safe environments to learn. We can give them the opportunity to build the confidence, learn how to recognize, what to stay away from and how to behave, and they'll be better people for it. Board sports are here to stay, and good kids skateboard. The general plan designates Monterey Park as an active park, and it was that way in the 1989 general plan as well. Capitola has never defined what it means to be an active park, nor have we identified any specific differences between what we call a neighborhood park and what we call a community park. We should consider doing that as we go through our zoning code update, because I think it will make a big difference, and it will help us understand when we start looking at projects like this. It'll give us some guidelines. I think it's clear, though, both from the general plan and from council's direction in February of 2015, that a skateboard use is acceptable at Monterey Park. But I still share a lot of the concerns. And that doesn't mean that the proposal that we're looking at is an acceptable one. As a planning commissioner, I have not recommended approval of a project that was going to be substantially modified after we approved it. We've continued projects and asked for variations and made it as painless as possible to bring back those changes and let us take a look at them, and then approved it. And I have the utmost respect for our staff, but I think we'd be derelict in our duty if we put the community development director in the position of moving the park, changing the orientation of the park, moving the sound walls, designing the sound walls, and him being the one to say, yes, this is good, with the community as involved as it is. The project's too important to the community, and I think we need to get it right, because it's a permanent structure. I have some difficulties with certifying the EIR without knowing that the changes that could be made to make it more visible and move it closer to the street and those other things wouldn't impact it. It's possible that that could be done, and I'm not an expert on what kind of changes you would have to go back and look at. But I need to see a final site location and the orientation of the features of the park to the parking lot and or the street. I need to see the sound walls and understand their proposed material configurations. And I think these items are too important to leave on Rich's shoulders. It's good to hear that there are sketches, which might make it extremely painless to take a look at what that final configuration would be. I'd also like to see what the netting looks like, although I appreciate that it could be temporary. So it's just the poles that we'd be looking at that would affect the aesthetics. I'd like to make a motion to continue the item until such time as a modified design can be presented. In case I don't get support, since I'm the first one speaking and have not heard from my fellow commissioners, there are a couple of changes to the mitigation monitoring and reporting program I'd like to see, and they are pretty simple. One, the project description needs to get changed to include the security lighting, which is what we're now talking about. And under biological resources, I think the city should cause the survey to be conducted at the applicant's expense, but that the report should be generated under our direction as to the birds and is it an appropriate time for the construction. I'd like to see something added to do a verification survey of the noise after the park is open during an active time that's determined by the community development director, just to confirm the estimated levels are true. And we'll learn a lot about everything after McGregor gets opened. I was pleased to hear that we've got the best people working on design and construction of the park. Some of the things that I ran into in my looking at other issues was, the concrete not being smooth enough, construction mistakes that happened along the way, and I'm glad to hear that we're not going to run into those issues. But if we finished McGregor, we might learn things that we don't know. I'd also, on the design, the curved fence, I would support that. I would prefer all surfaces to be smooth because it's so close. I don't know if that can be possible or not. If there's one stamped ramp that is going to make more noise than the smoothness. The parks that I went to that were really tightly in a neighborhood were completely smooth, and they really weren't that noisy with, 4 kids skating on them the whole time I was there. Replacement trees, if we have to remove the eucalyptus trees, I know that we allow for in lieu fees When we can't find an appropriate site, I'd really like to see the replacement trees go in on the park. And I would support the condition of approval for an indemnity agreement. I think that's pretty standard in the county. And as for the time of opening, I think that's a discussion item that is going to be an interesting discussion. I would be open to having it closed during school hours, but I think that that might be an issue for staff to manage or for the police. The Public Works team is assuring that we get the best possible quality in construction, and the park at McGregor is going to address multiple uses. You got a dog park, a bike pump, and the skate park. So I think we're going to learn a lot when that opens, but I agree that this park being proposed is very different from that. So I don't think that the issue of having two skateboard parks is really a valid issue. Thank you for bearing with me.
So I heard you say something about a motion. We're going to hold off until other people speak.
Hold on until we all have a chance to.
You can, but
Then
it's
we'll-
out
then-
there.
then we'll come back.
You can make friendly amendments to it, or you can change it,
We
or
won't
not
second
second
it.
it. Don't second it.
Okay, I guess we're going in order. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody who's here tonight and who participated. I have to say this is one of the most civil public hearings we've had in a long time with this many people here, and everyone showed great respect to either side and gave them a chance to speak. I participated in the Capitola planning process for a long time, and it's my feeling that the Planning Commission is not going to be the final decision maker on this project. I think people who've had experience in Capitola know that whatever the Planning Commission does, if it has any controversy or is a large project, is going to end up going to the City Council for their approval. And as planning commissioners, I think that we've done a really good job staying out of politics most of the time. And I was a little concerned that it seemed like an awful lot of the emails that we got were more political than land use-based issues to deal with. I think the Planning Commission's job is to look at the facts and make land use decisions and base those decisions on the city's zoning regulations and our general plan, and in this case, the environmental impact report that was prepared for the project. And I have a strong sense from listening to Commissioner Smith and knowing my other commissioners that everybody has spent a long time trying to understand both sides of this project and to try and make certain that we educated ourselves the best we could to make an informed decision. The proposal that we have tonight is for a little over a 6,000 square foot skate area, and then there's going to be fencing around it, so it comes up to the 6,800 square feet. And that's really nothing like some of the other skate parks that we have around. It's not like the 23,000 square feet that they have in Scotts Valley. For me, I think most people know that I have 3 grandchildren who spend a lot of time on skateboards, and unfortunately right now most of that time is spent on skateboards in the street. But as you mentioned, and I absolutely agree, you know, skateboarding has become a mainstream sport. It's no different than soccer or basketball or any of the other sports. And I would like to see a smaller skate park, the 6,000 square feet that we're talking about, go into the Monterey park site, because I think that is a good location, a good safe location for this kind of skate park that really, while there will be some older 33-year-old beginners out there skating in it, the majority of the skaters in this park are going to be on the younger side, and I think it's appropriate to have that. There's been some concern expressed about, having 2 skate parks. And for me, I think that the Monterey Park is a far superior site for the youth of Capitola, for the elementary school and middle-aged school children who will be using this park. There's been concern expressed about the lack of bathrooms, and you touched on that. And personally, I think it's very disappointing that the city of Capitola hasn't already put bathrooms in Monterey Park. The decision to build and construct bathrooms in the park really is not a planning commission decision. That's one, again, that's going to go to the city council. But if the subject comes up there, I would certainly encourage them to add bathrooms in that park and actually several other locations in town where I think it's important for them to be. I touched on earlier, the issue of the 2 skate parks. I just think that they are completely different kinds of skate parks, and as far as I know, the McGregor Skate Park is a temporary facility. If you go back and read the staff reports when that went in, they do talk about that if there was an opportunity to build a hotel on that site, for example, that those uses would be moved somewhere else. And even if McGregor, is not temporary, I think the children of Capitola shouldn't be denied the opportunity of having a well-conceived skate park in a good location like Monterey. There are some changes in the design that, I would also like to see. I do agree with moving the skate park forward. After talking to the police chief and staff, I think there are a lot of advantages to that option. I do know that it will require the removal of the eucalyptus trees in the berm. I actually remember the gentleman was here, he talked about he built Monterey Park. I worked in Capitola when Monterey Park was built, and I remember the decision being made to create those berms rather than spend the money to haul the dirt off-site when that park was constructed. So it's not a natural feature, it's just got there because somebody bulldozed a bunch of dirt up in the corner. It's always a shame when we lose some larger trees, but the removal of those eucalyptus trees, I don't think, should dictate what is the optimum location for where the skate park should go. We're talking about a skate park going in that's going to be there for a number of years. There will be an opportunity for replacement trees, and they will grow. Noise is one area where I have a great deal of empathy for the people who live in the neighborhood, and I do understand their concerns. So while the environmental impact report said that the noise levels would be mitigated to a point where they would not exceed what's reasonably acceptable in a residential neighborhood or in a park. I would like to see, as you suggested, that we do some sort of noise study after the park has been constructed to verify that the sound attenuation system that we have put in place as part of the mitigations is actually achieving the goals that the EIR says that will achieve. And staff had included a condition in there that, there be a sound study. I think it was condition 28, there be a sound study prior to a certificate of occupancy. And I'm almost wondering if we could sort of modify that to have that sound study done, 6 or 9 months, some time period after the park is in, after the park is functioning, so we can validate to the residents who live in that area that the sound attenuation system is working, and if it is not working, then I think we have to have a condition that says that the applicants will do further sound mitigation measures so that we reach the level of noise that is discussed in the EIR. And I would sort of leave it up to staff to come up with that exact wording and how we would make certain there are funds set aside, so if additional work was needed, that we would be able to do that. Let's see, I'm almost done. I am in favor of the alternative fencing. I've seen it be quite effective with other skate parks, that if there is a problem with graffiti or nighttime skating or any of those issues, that the skate park is closed for a period of time. And, you know, I would assume that we're going to be able to do that. I would like to figure out a way, and I don't know if there is a way to do it, for us to move this project on to the City Council. Rather than having it come back to us for another hearing, because I'm sorry, I fully believe that, you know, whatever happens tonight or at a continued hearing, whether we approve it or we deny it, that, you know, this application's ultimately going to end up before the council on appeal, and it would be nice to see us get that before them. And if we do get it before them, I think whatever they get should include not only, you know, the alternative location, but all of the mitigations that staff talks about in their staff report. I think, you know, the plan needs to show the lighting, the exact design of the sound walls, all of those issues, so they can deal with that.
Can I just interject real quick? Because I hear what you're saying, but council relies on us really, I think, to do a lot of the detail work. And my fear is that if it just goes to them, it's going to have a conceptual kind of an approval. And I think that the details are much more important. And that's why I think the details should come back to the Planning Commission, because that's sort of what we're chartered to do.
Right. I hear what you're saying, and we'll hear what everyone else has to say. Yeah, I think that pretty much sums up my comments. You know, the one thing when I look at this skate park and I look at Monterey Park, it's a 4-acre active park, and the skate park that we're proposing is going to take up less than 4% of that park space. There's going to be an opportunity to have a soccer field with moving it forward. I think it would be a tremendous asset to, you know, the youth of Capitola to be able to have this skate park there. And I look forward to hearing what everyone else has, and then we can maybe have a little more of a discussion.
We don't have anything more to say. You wouldn't have said it all. I can agree with everything that has been said up until now, and I have a few other points to make. I think people who have had anything to do with me over my term previously on the Planning Commission, then on the City Council, and now on the Planning Commission will have heard me say the words community character, neighborhood character over and over and over again. It's a huge point for me. Neighborhood character is what makes Capitola what it is. So we have many different kinds of neighborhoods, and although this is an R1 neighborhood, I believe it's, and we don't have this on the books, but I believe this is a mixed-use R1 neighborhood. This is a neighborhood that is not like Depot Hill, it's not like the Jewel Box or Riverview Terrace. There are a lot of different uses already existing, and I believe there is cause for one to believe that those who live in that neighborhood need to know that those kinds of uses are going to continue to happen. So I've struggled with this, really, this park. I've lots of sleepless nights. I have to say I started out really dubious about this plan, and I moved from dubious a couple weeks ago into really taking a closer look at it, talking to a lot of people about it, thinking a lot more about it, And then I went to being on the fence. And over the last couple of days, I really feel like I've come around to believing that this use is appropriate for this neighborhood. And it is a neighborhood. It is going to be in a neighborhood. But I think that we've got open space at Noble Gulch right down the street. So we're not considering the fact that we do have another open space park right down the street from Monterey Park. The general plan has designated this as an active park, although we haven't described that and defined that, and I think we should. I understand people having a problem with the noise, and I believe from everything I've been reading in these reports that there are mechanisms for attenuating the noise, and I believe they will work. And I do agree that we need to put into the conditions of approval that there will be some type of a review with monies put aside if these mitigations don't work the way they said they're going to work. I also believe we have the best police force, if not in Santa Cruz County, if not in the state of California, possibly in the United States. They are on it. They always have been on it. We've got a reputation for them being on it, and I think that we can rely on that. We can rely on their help and their partnership. I think that, unfortunately, McGregor Skate Park was a mistake. I hope it works out. I hope people actually go to it. But I don't think the kids we're seeing in this room tonight are the kids that are going to go to it. And I think this current site is a better site for it. I would like also to see, if we can possibly do it, I'd like to see the redesign go to the council instead of coming back to the planning commission. I think the fewer steps for the applicant and our community in this particular situation, the better. And I think the council can do a good job of taking a look at that alternative site and what else, with some things that we can tell them tonight and do a good job of that. I do have some conditions of approval points. Another point I want to bring up, and that is that both Commissioner Newman and I independently did a study of our 2014 census. And I was shocked, I don't know if you were, but I was shocked to find that we have 468 at that time, 468 kids under the age of 5, 375 children from 5 to 9, and 668 children from 10 to 14. And if 14 is pretty much the cutoff, that means we have over 1,500 children in this community, which is about 15% of our community. That's a huge amount. It shocked me. It's a huge amount, and we need to take care of that population. And as far as I can tell from the women I know who are having babies, it's only going to go up. So that was just another point. But as far as the conditions of approval that I would like to see added and changed are a review period and monies put aside for mitigations if the noise is greater than expected. I'd like to at least talk about the possibility of putting in the fact that there are no special events ever allowed at this skate park. I'd at least like to bring that up and talk about that. I would like to, I don't know if we can put it in the conditions of approval, but I think there should be bathrooms. And that's something that I don't think we can ask the applicant to put those in, but I think we need, as a city, we need to make sure that the council understands that that's a no-brainer. That has to happen. I think I've got a number 4 here. I do believe that it should be closed during school hours. I know that's harder for the community, but I think it would be pretty obvious that being closed during school hours would be another no-brainer. I want it to go to the council very strongly that the redwood trees need to remain. I think that there's a condition of approval about benches. It's pretty vague, and I think we need to tighten up the condition on benches. That is condition number 6. I think we need to specify how many benches we want and how big those benches are to be. and we don't have garbage cans in here. I don't think the applicant should do that, but I think the city needs to add garbage cans. And one other thing about the trees, I want to make sure that those trees are also irrigated. I want to make sure we don't plop in. I watched it happen in Anna Jean Cummings Park. We put in trees as part of the public art. They weren't mitigated, and they all pretty much died. So we need to make sure that those trees are properly taken care of.
The redwood trees or the replacement trees?
The replacement trees, if there are replacement trees. I think that's all I have to say for right now.
Okay, I'm going to be brief. We've already lost a few of our younger audience members, I see. And we can see which way the wind's blowing here. It's going to take some time to go through these various conditions and details. So I want to compliment the staff on an excellent report and preparation, although he's not paying attention right now. He doesn't know that. But
they did do a great job.
Yeah, put it in the minutes. And as well as the applicant and the applicant team, I mean, for a project this size, the amount of effort and expertise that went into it is really remarkable and very impressive, probably quite expensive also. I want to assure everyone that I came to this completely without any preconceived idea of how I was going to react to it. And I'm not, skateboarding is not one of my hobbies, at least so far. And as I got into it and did everything that everyone else has talked about doing here, the decision really became very easy at the end for me. I don't see it as a tough question at all. I've been in Capitola for 40 years. I know a little bit about the general plan because I chaired the General Plan Advisory Committee for 3 years, and I'm quite comfortable that this proposal is very consistent on the whole with the things we tried to accomplish with the general plan. You can find different policies that point one way or another way, I'm sure, with any project, but all things taken together, I think this is certainly consistent with what we were trying to accomplish when we passed our new general plan 2 years ago. So I think we're going to have to spend some time on a lot of these little details that the other commissioners have been talking about. I'm very comfortable that the police behavior issue will be dealt with very well by our police department. If there's ever an attractive nuisance, it's a Capitola Beach, and our police department has kept that so that it's a comfortable place for all people in the community to go, and there haven't been any problems, and I'm sure they can do the same with a skate park here. And basically, I think we should address the EIR certification independently of the approval of the project when we get around to that point. That's my suggestion to the chair. And with that, my comments.
Thanks, and I appreciate your legal interpretation of things. I also have to thank staff. They did a great job of putting this together, and any concerns or questions I had, they were able to help me through that process. And really, to all of you who have participated in this, I would say I was trying to be calm when I came in here and collect, because people are going, I wouldn't want to be in your position trying to chair this. And I did have a little bit of apprehension and asked Rudy if he was going to have his weapon with him tonight. But no, I watched the way that the same group of people basically filled the room and went through the same process with the city council and with Mayor Norton at the time. And so I had really no concerns, and I appreciate you guys being respectful. I have to tell you also, I was kind of on the fence because before coming in here, I think that having two parks really puts us in a tough position. And while we don't make the political decisions, as was mentioned, and our concern is land use, it really does come into a lot of other issues that kind of cross over, and the neighborhood character is part of it. But, you know, as I started doing my research and I read over 100 emails that were sent to us, I went through the EIR page by page, which was pretty comprehensive, and I had to go through a number of the pages a number of times just to comprehend what it was saying. And then, of course, looking at the general plan, listening to the public input, I came up to some conclusions, and I did make a few notes before I came here of things that I researched. First of all, noise, I'm empathetic to it. And you know, those of you who are losing your hearing like I am, you become more I guess, susceptible to background noise. And there are many nights I would like to close down Park Avenue because my bedroom window faces that street. But so I'm very sensitive to the noise issue. I reviewed the noise study. I visited all the skate parks in the county, and I looked at a lot of the internet information, and I feel very comfortable that the skateboarding is really not an issue. Above and beyond that, I spent my career in the fire service, and I had a station directly across from this very setup. It was a middle grade school a park with the skate park in it, but it had portable ramps. My office window faced that skate park, and my bedroom window for those of you know the firehouse, we sometimes get a chance to go to bed, face that school and that park. And I never even thought about the skate park there. It never was. I never paid attention to it. We never really had any responses over there, and noise was never a problem for the limited hours we got to sleep. So I didn't give it much thought until this came about a number of years ago and started thinking about it. I lived right across from the same situation, and it was not an issue, the noise at that skate park. It certainly wasn't anything what is being proposed tonight. Neighborhood character, you know, Cliffwood Heights really, it was very fortunate. You have, if you consider Noble Gulch, you really have three parks. You have the Cortez Park, or the hidden park, which is truly hidden. You have to find that, and we've taken my grandson there and spent the day there, the afternoon there, without anyone else coming in the whole park, and we had it to ourselves. And then we have, you know, Monterey Park. And Monterey Park, to me, the whole active park really makes sense to me. It is an active park. It's got a baseball field. Kids play soccer there. It's part of a school ground. So to me, it makes sense that that would be a place to put a skate park. And, you know, I didn't live in that area, but I grew up in that area. I had relatives that lived off of Eleanor. I spent a majority of my childhood in that area, so I'm very familiar with it. And what I always remember of Capitola, and I just surveyed a couple realtors today that to ask them if you were to you had someone come to you and they said they were looking for a place for a family, and they wanted a community or a neighborhood that had families already in it, where would they recommend that? And it was Cliffwood Heights. And I remember Cliffwood Heights always being you know, the community or the neighborhood that had a lot of children in it. So I think this is the perfect place for the site. I was never a big proponent of McGregor Park, and obviously we were not part of that decision to put it there. But I think that Monterey Park is an ideal site for it. I visited the other parks in the areas I mentioned. Derby Park I found a little interesting because it is covered in graffiti. It's a place that's different than what we would see and what we'd want in Capitola. But having said that, it also didn't have the security issues that are being recommended here. It wasn't fenced. It wasn't accessible for the police to easily drive by and check it out. It was next to an older school district and commercial area that had graffiti and tagged over all the buildings, including the school, the older school grounds. So that, to me, was a little bit of a different issue, and I didn't see that as something that we would have a problem with here. I spoke to a resident next to Jose Park that their fence abutted the park, and they never even paid attention to the park other than when they take their grandkids over there, and said it never has been a noise issue or a concern for them the years that they've lived there. You know, the big issue for me, and I did do my research, and someone mentioned the Vancouver. I went through every single link that POP had on their website, and I found it kind of interesting because it really helped me lead me to my conclusion that Capitola is a unique place. It's not the Santa Monica area. It's not this blighted area of Vancouver. And in fact, the Vancouver area that was mentioned, the neighborhood actually rallied and kept that site. And the dB level the sound study showed was at 61 or less. So I tried to do my homework. I wanted to make a good decision tonight. I reviewed all this stuff. And my conclusion after reviewing all this information was, one, Capitola is a very unique place. It's not a community of a lot of this vandals. We can attribute a lot of that to Rudy and our police force, and I have all the confidence they can help keep it that way. But the other thing about Capitola is a sense of community. And while I know it's a mixed reviews of having it at Monterey Park, my thought is that the neighbors who have those concerns will also keep their eye open and help us keep it the way it is. And then, I know one of the people here tonight actually lives on the school site as a caretaker and has gone to some measures to help, keep that area more visible so he could help keep an eye on things. And I think that's all the positive. So for me, I think we do have a few things to work through. I would be open to the school hours, having it closed. I think those children that were here tonight obviously should be in school and not at that skate park, right? I think that would help. So along with maybe some modifications and of the conditions of approval, I'm forward to look at moving this forward tonight and not holding it up any longer.
So I have a little discussion about, keeping the park closed during, are you talking about all school hours? Because like for the Capitola kids who go to Soquel Elementary, sometimes their hours are different than New Brighton's hours. I was wondering if there's some sort of compromise that, instead of just saying it's closed anytime school is in session, saying maybe the park doesn't open till noon time or something along that line.
I don't know, I don't have kids, and so I don't know the schedules, the school schedules, as well as some others might know it. It seems like 12 would be a little early. But again, if kids are getting out of school and they're on their way home and they're going to stop at the park, I don't want to have it closed to them either. So,
and I'd also like to suggest, maybe that we say that the hours that it operates, we're going to consider looking at it. It bothers me that.
This is a use permit, so maybe we have some flexibility in terms of how we handle this, because use permits are not permanent.
Right.
And we can put something in there that allows us to reevaluate the hours.
Good.
We really don't know, and in fact,
we don't know.
Yeah, and we didn't really have much input on that particular issue.
I could see someone has a 3 or 4-year-old and they want to go to the skate park, because I will tell you, all of my grandchildren were skating when they were 3 or 4. You're saying, the park's off limits to them, the skate park's off limits to them anytime school's in session, and I don't know if that's sort of if that's the goal that you're trying to achieve.
I think my only consideration was trying to assist the school in their concerns, but of having people there. But as I went through these skate parks, I was really surprised at the amount of young children that were there with supervision, and even one that probably the kid was maybe 12 or 13. I don't know. It's tough at age. They're all my height, so it's hard to really tell at that point. But there was another young guy there and this was at Watsonville Skate Park, that was there helping him. It was, obviously someone who was maybe a friend with them. But so I could see where a parent may want to take a kid there during school hours because all the other kids aren't there. So.
Yeah, I think the concern from the school board was just distraction of the kids that are in classes. And, when you have spring break one place and not another place, the kids could be in classes looking out the window at, and the location makes all the difference in the world, because when it's up on that mound, at least it was my sort of impression standing on that mound and looking towards the classrooms, that there's a good avenue of visibility. So what I was thinking was to have it be closed during regular New Brighton classroom hours. But if we could write some kind of a condition that says, 3 months after it's open, you do a review and talk to not the school board, but the teachers at school and get some feedback. If it's not a problem for it to be open, then it stays open. But if it's a problem, then we consider changing the hours at that point, maybe.
Yeah, I guess I have some difficulty with closing at any time school's open, because I think we're eliminating, there's a whole group of people who could want to use it. I mean, the school uses our park during school time. I've even been told they've asked people who are in the park to leave so they could do school activities there.
Monterey Park.
Mm-hmm. So, I think there's got to be a balance between the school and, what is a city park.
So you're thinking that noon is a...
I was just going to start with noon and then, go from there.
I would be comfortable with noon and maybe doing the 3-month or 6-month review. 3 months might not be enough time. I do think that there's going to be an initial, everybody wants to go to the park to try it out, and then that's going to wane. I mean, my feeling is, and correct me if I'm wrong, again, I don't have any kids, but older kids really don't like to hang out with younger kids, right? So once the younger kids get out of school and they're there, they don't want to be there.
So you do like noon to dusk during regular school hours and then 8 to dusk the rest of the year, or what are you proposing?
I'm unprepared. I'm unqualified.
I don't have an issue with it, after some thought. If we're going to have a use permit that can be changed at a later time, leaving it open right now and see how it goes.
Why don't we try leaving it open and see if it's a problem, rather than thinking it's going to be a problem and we don't know that it's going to be, and we'll have a condition in there that says, if it is a problem, then certainly people can come to us, and as Ed said, it is a conditional use permit and we can modify it.
Which condition deals with the hours of operation? Do you have?
I don't believe I wrote a condition having the hours of operation, only that it would have to abide by the municipal code regulations, which would be 8 a.m. till dusk.
If this gets built and opened during summer hours, we should give it, school time deadlines rather than a fixed 6 months. We should say, 6 months of school being open, so that if it's 2 months of summer, that's not we shouldn't waste that 2 months. We should allow them.
We could review it in January of the follow, 6 months after it's been open.
Right.
And we could review it to see if there's a problem that needs to be adjusted. The hours need to be adjusted.
So do we want to start off by maybe certifying the EIR and then move into the use permit?
That was my suggestion. I haven't heard any comments on that.
And I was actually going to ask for the city attorney. It's my understanding that the alternate location has already been analyzed in the EIR because it was alternative 1. So by moving it there, we don't need to go back and do any additional work on the EIR. Is that correct?
I believe that's correct. And we've discussed that as well.
So we could go ahead and certify the EIR, and that doesn't, that just leaves us open then to talk about the project itself.
So that motion would include the mitigation, monitoring, and reporting program?
Yes.
So I'm going to see how this goes. I'm going to move that the EIR and the MMRP be certified.
Is that a substitute motion? So I think we have a motion.
Well, that motion died for lack of a second.
Yeah, exactly.
So EIR and
the mitigation monitoring.
Does that include the 2 changes that I mentioned earlier? One, modifying it so that instead of saying no lighting is proposed.
I think that's more of a condition of approval. We're basically accepting or not accepting what was submitted to us. I don't think we
still
can
put conditions of approval in the project related to lighting.
We can't change the EIR. It is what it is.
Okay.
So we have a first and a second.
Second.
Who seconded?
I did.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So we got one part out of the way. Then we're going to move into the use permits.
Okay. So I could go along with Gail's suggestion in the beginning, having no special events. And, you know, if someone wanted to do a special event, instead of just going through the city's normal process of doing a special event, they would have to come back to the Planning Commission and ask us to amend our condition to allow special events.
Right, as a public hearing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I support that.
I absolutely agree that, you know, and whatever we send to the city council, we need to strongly suggest and ask them to keep the redwood trees.
Do what?
Keep the redwood trees. And, you know, I'm certainly open for the number of benches people think would be appropriate. I guess we should talk about how many benches we think we need, or
That's a good point, because I was speaking with one gentleman, and we were sitting on an area of the skate park that he says is not really a bleacher seats. This is part of this actual skating and skate park. And he said that's one of the things that he finds when he goes around, is that there's an absence of enough seating for families, and it encourages family to come and participate. And if this is going to be a younger person park, I think we need to have enough seating so that they're not sitting on the skate park like I was.
Yeah, and it's also sets of eyes on the activities.
So
I don't know what the right amount is, but I'll bet you that the people who develop parks know for this size park what it is. But 2 seemed like not a minimum of 2. I would rather, you know, specify that in the conditions, and we can find out. And there'll be the ones that are separated in the middle so that there's no extended lounging in a horizontal position on
So
the-
with regard to recommendations to the city council, I think it's important to keep in mind that the basis for the decision to go before the city council is on an appeal. So my recommendation is that you merely adopt the conditions that you feel are appropriate, such as leave in place the redwood trees, or increase the number of benches, and then those conditions would be attached to the project. When it gets appealed to the council, if the council disagrees, then it can modify them, but that would be my
Is there a way
recommendation.
we can move it forward to the council without making the opponents spend the money and have to go through a...
Based on my review of the code, the mechanism for getting it in front of the council is on an appeal.
So, so could our recommendation be that additional benches be added where appropriate
In the condition?
as a condition?
I'd support saying a minimum of 2, though, because it's all going to rely on where they move it, how much room they have to put any, but I think when they relocate it, they should have
The
enough
design
space for at
should
least 2.
include a minimum of 2 benches.
Are these going inside or outside the fence?
Outside the fence.
So they would go outside, and I would just point out there's probably some different seating options that would be creative and cool. It may not be exactly benches. There's cube seating. Maybe there's a way that you incorporate some kind of a bench into the noise wall so it's not as visually obtrusive. Maybe there is a little grassy knoll type area. So I'm sure there's park standards for kind of spectator seating for these events that we can work on and try to apply those to provide ample, comfortable seating areas for the public.
I could live with that.
As long as I knew staff was going to follow through, you know, and 2 just doesn't seem like enough.
Yeah, I agree. You know, and another thing we could do is informally report to the Planning Commission during a future hearing what we're coming up with, and get your input on it before we make a final decision.
Okay, great. I'm good with that.
Yeah, and this just sort of lines back, because I just have to say it one more time, to approving something that we can't see, because in the current location, you're practically on the property line, and then you've got the walkway, and so you don't want to put benches, you don't want to give up the walkway for benches.
So
So I don't
I've
know
been
how
thinking
many-
about that issue because I think that's probably one of the most important issues because it's clear that we're going to have some kind of approval there. And what to do about everyone seems to want the alternative. And whether we can move forward without coming back with a new design. And I'm somewhat on the fence on this, but I think it would be really, given all that's happened here and all the input we've had, that it would really be nice if we could approve this and the way I'm thinking of doing it is the alternative one in the EIR has some parameters. It talks about 60 feet to 140 feet. It's not specific. But, I'm wondering if we could approve the project, subject to whatever additional conditions you want to add, approve the project as alternative one within the parameters specified in the EIR.
Is that a motion?
It's a suggestion at this point. I want to hear what. I know that Commissioner Smith would like to see the design come back, and I can sympathize with that, but it seems like the points are rather detailed. We have the concept. The concept is pretty clear.
Yeah, we know what the fencing's going to be. We know about the benches. We've talked about trees.
I'm not feeling that I have any support for the bringing it back, so in my head, I'm trying to formulate enough conditions that you guys are all comfortable that City Council's actually going to look at the detail, and I'm afraid it'll just go out to a concept.
Yeah, I'm comfortable that staff is going to follow up on that. And
I think the scenario that Commissioner Newman described, I think would allay a lot of Commissioner Smith's concerns, is doable. You could approve the project tonight as the alternative, sort of in a vague concept as it's outlined in the EIR, and we could bring back the final proposed design, and the Commission could vote to make changes or modify it at that time, so long as it fits within that original approval.
I could live with what our community development director just said.
So come to any conclusion on the hours of operation. I was reading the staff report outlines what the code provides, which is to sundown, 8 o'clock, 8 a.m. to sundown, or something like that. So
I think
go ahead.
No, I was comfortable. I thought it was mentioned to 6 months after the
review that.
Have a review, and I'm comfortable with that. That gives us a chance to have input from the school district, how it's working, and so on.
Okay, the one that I'm a little confused about is the bathrooms, because I don't think we have the authority to spend city money to have those bathrooms put in there. I think, the best we can do is, perhaps we could ask our community development director to write a letter to the council expressing the planning commission's strong support for bathrooms.
I think we may have some other things in here, too, that we want to recommend to the council to consider that we can't put into anything that we're doing, but they are strongly recommended.
Staff would be happy to do that. I think we have a good opportunity to do that when we present the right of entry permit for this project. We'll pass along some of the policy recommendations that the council had, or the Planning Commission had in that regard.
These are things we're not asking the applicant to do, we're asking the city to do, like garbage cans, like bathrooms, like irrigation, another one. I think actually irrigation we could put in because number 27 deals with any trees removed, and it just needs to include irrigation on 27. Where that water's going to come from. Is the whole park irrigated?
There is irrigation up in that park.
It's got to be. Yeah.
One condition I haven't had you sort of reiterate, but I think there's consensus, is for post-operation noise monitoring and additional mitigation.
Well, I noticed you didn't put in your usual use permit review condition that you've been putting in all use permits.
That was probably a miss. That wasn't an intentional absence.
Okay.
Also, we want to add the condition about the defense of the city for the city attorney's request.
On number 27, is there any way to get rid of it's okay if they pay in lieu fees instead of?
Yes. I missed that, yes.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
And we've got the,
Excuse me, so adding, that's condition 27, irrigation and trees must be replaced, no.
Right.
Right.
No
That's-
paying
that's
of an
really-
in lieu
in lieu
fee.
fee.
We
Right,
want the
that's really
trees
not
in the park.
anything that the applicant's going to have a big problem with. It's just going to, the city's going to have to find a spot for it.
Right. Okay. So, seems like we've gone over most I wrote down on my list. Does anybody have
Anybody
any
want to
more?
take a stab at it? I don't. No, I don't have any more. I was wondering if anybody's ready to take a stab at all those.
Okay. I think Commissioner Newman,
I didn't write down all the conditions, but I mean, I'll move approval subject to the additional conditions that we have a consensus for.
And if you'd like, I'll read what my notes are,
Great,
and
thank
you
you.
can tell me
That
if I
would be
missed
great.
any. So, tree replacement on site, no in lieu fees paid. No special events or competitions. Preserve the redwood trees. We will work to specify the number, types, benches, seating arrangement. There will be a 6-month review after the park is in operation to look at the conditions. We'll also add the standard review.
Revocation.
Yeah, the revocation. Although we'd be revoking our own permit, I don't know if that's necessary, but.
No, there's an applicant here.
Post-noise monitoring or post-operation noise monitoring with some sort of a bond or letter of credit to guarantee that additional mitigation could be provided if there were more impacts than projected, and a defense and indemnity agreement.
And I think irrigation of the trees, we were going to put in that, of the trees being planted.
right.
did you say the no special events and I wasn't listening?
Yes.
Yes.
I got that one.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So it passes.
Unanimously.
So with that, we welcome you. Welcome and congratulations for those. I guess, well, look, do we have any directors report, anything to follow up on? That would, Rich?
Mr. Chairman, I'm all out of steam. No director's report this evening.
And no commission communications, I take it?
No.
Great, so we'll adjourn the meeting and congratulations.
Can we actually give up all this stuff?
The EIR, I don't know. Are you going to keep it?
Well, I don't know. Should we